Hey, everybody. Welcome to Comic Book Curation. I am Polly, and joining me, as always, is Inquisitor 8.1 Quiz. How are you on this special edition Sunday episode?
I'm doing all right. Spent most of my morning just tweeting about Warhammer stuff, so...
Really?
I'm in a good mood, yeah.
You couldn't find anything more dramatic to get into on Twitter?
Oh, fuck that, no.
And rounding out our triumvirate of awesome is Jack from Bad Comic Reviews. Link in the description. Jack, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
Oh.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. As a matter of fact, I'm doing better than usual. And you know why? Because today is a special episode because we have none other than Scribe Light from Lords of the Night joining us. Scribe, finally we have you here. How the hell are you doing?
I am doing well. I might be roboting apparently because something's going on. So if I robot, it's not my fault.
Well, you know what? That is probably something we should tell the audience right off the bat. Apparently, YouTube has been having all kinds of trouble. Well, more detail. We'll go into more detail. Apparently, people have trouble even launching live streams. So I guess we should be happy that we even have a live stream going. But unfortunately, audio anomalies are also occurring at random. Great fun.
I've been hearing all day on Twitter that people were having trouble trying to do live streams. Like Jack Gunsky does a movie review stream today, and he couldn't even get it, started. So
couldn't get it launched. Fuck.
I don't know.
He couldn't get it up, as it were.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about Jack Gunsky's performance. He can make those comments himself.
And it's fine. It happens to all sorts of guys. Never to me, mind you. But
it always happens to Polly. Every Wednesday. It's fine.
It takes a while to get it up, but when it does, it stays up a long time. Okay. Remember last
week? Gotten to the 4-hour minute yet.
Well, you know what? Remember we got our, I said last week, because we all had to get going and you were tired and a million other things, that we were going to do a short stream.
Turns out 2 hours.
Almost 2.5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, my IRL stuff didn't come up. I was waiting for a certain text because at that point I had to go and it never happened. But that didn't stop our wonderfully observant audience from busting our balls in the comments section about it. Because
your balls.
Well, yeah, I get to be the target of these things, but that's okay. They're a fun bunch.
Yes,
I enjoy it. So let's start where we always do with a quick look at our thumbnail for those who haven't seen it on Twitter yet. I managed to pull off something that I'm pretty proud of, damn it. Because who would have figured that there would have been a sexy colonial marine?
Oh, dude. Okay.
Yay!
You are a parent of what H.R. Geiger's art looks like, right?
Opium-filled nightmares?
And extremely surreal sex organs. That's exactly the interpretation of H.R. Geiger's art.
Okay. There's like sexy in the sense of like hentai tentacles, and then there's sexy in the sense of what you're looking at now, like actually attractive.
Yeah. That's what that's H.R. Geiger's textbook, art style is supposed to be, like the grotesque side of sex.
Yeah, but H.R. Geiger never drew colonial marines, or at least that wasn't part of his original vision.
That's true. He would draw just like strange ass aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
Zombie Teddy asks, what's wrong with that chick? Well, she's going to fight aliens only wearing a thong. That's something that's wrong with her.
Well, if you Ripley did it the first time practically, so
yeah,
good call. I mean, that wasn't a thong, but it might as well have been. She borrowed her little sister's panties, for Christ's sake. Remember them things? God, the 70s, man. Okay. So has anybody here other than myself been keeping up with the new Aliens comics? Jack, you read Aliens comics, right?
I was, till it started turning kind of garbage.
I did until I read one that was absolutely infested with social justice bullshit.
Yeah.
I stopped reading long before Dark Horse lost the license, so I still remember when it was good.
I don't...
Did they lose the license? Because the last couple I've read were from Dark Horse.
Oh, I thought they lost the license with the Fox sellout to Disney and Marvel. No, maybe they didn't yet. Oh, okay, never mind. Anyway, I stopped reading Aliens. I want to say late '90s, something like that.
Oh, they were good back then.
Yeah, they were. They were creepy, weird stuff. Music of the Spears was one of the weirdest, trippiest series in the Aliens saga. I don't know if you guys ever read that one, but man, that was bizarre, but it was cool.
No, what was the general shtick of it?
So in the future, there is this avant-garde musician who decides he can't find the right sound to express himself, but I think it's something to the effect of he catches a video or something of a xenomorph screaming, and it's music to his ears. So he convinces some, soulless mega corporation to capture an alien for him so he can try to provoke it into making those noises. And the adventure that ensues from this is one of the most weird, sadistic, and bizarre things I've ever seen written, at least about aliens. It's just such an odd concept, but it was really good.
Jesus.
Yeah.
The aliens, like the xenomorphs, drive people to do weird shit. Remember the strange old doctor in Alien 4 was Resurrection.
Resurrection,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
I try to forget Alien Resurrection, Polly.
Remember the weirdo doctor that was in charge of the xenomorphs that they had in captivity?
Was it Brad Dourif, yeah.
He's the same guy from
he's
Dune, right?
Well, yeah, he's from Dune. He played that Mentat guy or whatever, but he's also the voice of Chucky. He was in
He was the voice of Chucky?
Yeah, Brad Dourif's the voice of Chucky. He was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest as Billy. He's been around forever.
And I remember him from
when you said doctor that went nuts, I thought you were talking about the doctor from the comic books, Dr. Church. Dr. Church is fucking nuts. That character was great.
I don't know, when you're licking the glass because you're so turned on by the aliens, and like it's just what is happening in this movie?
He's the window licker.
It's just that, like Alien 3, lots of great ideas, but this is an example of like corporate thinking. It's like, it's like a platypus was designed by committee. It's got a whole bunch of different non-harmonious parts apparently working together barely,
I don't know. I still like Alien 3. I think if Alien 3 didn't have to live up to its brother and sister, it would be seen as a much better movie. But it's just so much darker and bleak and isolated. I don't know. There's a lot of merits to it. I think it's underrated personally.
Yeah, same. I actually really like Alien 3.
I don't have a problem with Alien 3. I like the idea of bringing it down to like a single alien again, and that it brings it to, it makes it a mystery and stalker horror film. It brings it back to being space horror, and I really dug that. Charles S. Dutton is a really underrated actor in my opinion.
Oh yeah, he is.
He was the religious nut leader of this group, and it was a cast of interesting characters. I just think everybody went in there expecting another James Cameron action flick, and it wasn't. So ouch,
Yeah.
But Alien 4, I have a hard time with Alien 4, and I'll tell you why.
You're not the only one.
One, I love that film because it's Winona Ryder at peak hotness, and so therefore I'm extremely biased. And I won't deny it. But
really,
it doesn't make it a great film. I'm not saying it does. I just love watching Winona Ryder at peak hotness. Okay.
You thought she was at peak hotness in Alien 4, not Reality Bites?
No. During those years, those 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
It's like The Crucible. I don't like watching The Crucible, but I like watching Winona Ryder at peak hotness.
All right.
She was so adorable back then.
Daniel Day-Lewis died for those acting skills. All right, come on.
And to be fair, she probably stole a bunch of props off the set.
Oh yeah.
Well, two things. God damn it, Jack.
Nice callback. God, that is some trivia right there.
Yeah. Wait, she was stealing socks, no? Wasn't that
something like that? Yeah, she was stealing like expensive
socks,
bullshit.
Yeah, for those of you in chat who don't know, Winona Ryder back in the day when she was a fucking millionaire and a celebrity somehow got arrested for petty shoplifting, and one of the items she stole were socks. It was just
It's called A Cry for Help.
But
Yeah, well,
see, two things about that film real quick. Like I watched it because it was like, okay, between whatever 95 and 98 or whatever, what I vaguely identified as the years of peak Winona Ryder hotness, I went and grabbed all the films that I could. And I said, okay, we're going to see what's good. Because Girl Interrupted is such a girly, touchy-feely type film that I couldn't manage my way through it. And I'm like, okay, The Crucible, Daniel Day-Lewis. And it was like, that is when he took on the moniker of acting man for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just, I want my name.
give me my name.
He's emoting for those, in the far, far back balcony seats who can't quite see his face.
I don't know what you're talking about. That's a great movie.
It disturbed me just how
disturbs me.
it's I'm just saying he's overacting a little bit.
Nope.
And by a little bit, I mean a whole lot. But the Winona Ryder, I find it disturbing just how well she fit into the role of a mentally disturbed person. Of a lying, conniving
It's almost
person.
like the role was written for her or something. The only thing about Alien 4 that really drew my attention at the time was the fact that, if I remember correctly, it was directed by the same guy that did City of Lost Children. And I only really kind of figured that out because the guy in the wheelchair and what's his name? The big guy whose name I suddenly can't remember.
Who? The Cro-Magnon looking guy?
Yeah, Perlman and the guy in the wheelchair are both in City of Lost Children. City of Lost Children was an excellent movie, and I thought, oh, this might be really kind of a weird kind of take, because City of Lost Children was so surreal and dark and kind of, darkly comedic. And then it was just Alien 4.
See, here's okay. Frosted Glass says, after the dog in Alien 3, I want to see a hamster xenomorph. Here's the thing. The idea being is like whatever animal the face hugger attaches itself to, the xenomorph that comes out will have characteristics of that given creature.
Yes,
it's part of what they do.
That was established in Alien 3. Yep.
Yeah,
and the toys. Did you see the toy line where you had like Gorilla Alien and like Mantis Alien and all that? I got a couple of those in my closet somewhere.
I forgot about those.
How can we make it interesting for the children's? Well, we'll have all sorts of different jungle animal aliens.
The 80s was a great time to be a kid, man. Where else could you get R-rated like movie toys? You can't do that nowadays.
Yeah, the whole thing broke down to like, it was like colonial marines, and I remember the xenomorph capture. It was just a big glass bubble fishbowl kind of thing that you popped over top of the alien to capture them. It was like they were working to try and make toys out of that. Like you said, Quiz, it's an R-rated film series. What are you going to do? Well, they came up with something. It's
great, man. RoboCop had fucking toys for kids. Are you kidding me?
No. Here's what they need to do. They need to make a kids show cartoon about a squirrel xenomorph that is chased by a dog predator.
Well, I would probably watch that. I'm not gonna lie.
But okay, here's the thing though. When it comes to like Frosted saying, I want to see this and for this kind of continuity inside the universe, I have given up on all ideas of anything approaching continuity inside of Alien stories, especially related to the xenomorphs. I mean, after Prometheus and starts with a C. Covenant, thank you. And Covenant, it's like, so David made the xenomorphs? What?
See, here's the problem that the Dark Horse series in the 90s found a solution to, is that they treated the alien, whether their presence, whether as a singular or a group or whatever, as a side plot to the main story of the interaction with the people. They were effectively like Mad Max is. They happen to be there. They're part of the plot, but they're not what's driving the plot. And the movies keep trying to fit themselves into the established canon of the Alien films, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what they should do is go off to the side, tell a story like Music of the Spears, like Deadliest of the Species, or like, what was it, Outpost or Bunker, whatever they called it, with Dr. Church showed up for the first time, where, these people are in this situation as a consequence of aliens being involved in some fashion. but the real story is around the people that are interacting with or having to work against the aliens, not the aliens themselves. And you can do it anywhere. They've established this giant universe. I mean, by aliens, we see Ripley return home, and we see sort of like how the future's laid out. They could have gone anywhere. And yet they kept sticking with this main line, we have to resolve the story of the Skywalkers bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I thought that's what they were going to do with Alien versus Predator, as a start establishing that. But
no, they fucked that.
Jack and I, and when Quiz was here, we were talking about like different Terminator or Aliens comics. What a great world to be able to write stuff into. It's like the Blade Runner world.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fantastic world building has occurred. You've got oh shit, what's the name of the big company inside of the alien world?
Weyland-Yutani.
Yeah, like they're clearly corporate, and like, how does the government even fit into this? They don't really talk about it. It almost seems like it's a cyberpunk world where the corporations are the government now, and they're interplanetary, and humans have spread out, and the only aliens seem to be animal type aliens, and you've got Marines, and you've got what a great world to base stuff in. It doesn't always have to be about the xenomorph. It can be about politics and corporate espionage and all sorts of fun stuff.
Here's the problem. Yes, you're right, Polly, but what we get is the social justice snooze fest of here, hold on, I can bring it up.
I forget what was social justicey about this. You're gonna have to remind me, but I want to know.
Oh god.
This is oh man. Okay.
It's Defiance.
Yeah, it's Defiance.
God.
Here we go. This is Aliens Defiance, right? The art is great. All right, it's a beautiful comic. The problem is that it's all about a black woman Marine who's disabled, who's, a strong, independent woman who don't need no man, fighting against the evil corporation. Oh my God, it is just jam-packed with social justice.
Leave our hobby alone.
It was, oh man, I would because the first couple of comics the first couple of issues I read, it wasn't that bad. So I kept on reading it. And say I have all 12 issues of that run. And by the 12th issue, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I wasted my life reading this.
Now, the Alien series that really showed me what you could do with that universe and just how dark and adult themed you could do it with was a series Dark Horse did back in the 90s called Alien Rogue. And it's like a 4 or 5 issue just series. And some of the characters bleed off into other series later on. But it is so... Yeah, Blade Runner, corporate politics, mad scientist stuff. And again, the aliens are sort of like the side thing. They're the driver of the story, but they're not the story. It's the people involved. And it was amazing. I was like,
Scribe,
oh my God.
You said it was called Aliens Rogue, and it was
Aliens,
Rogue. Okay,
Rogue. Yeah. Miniseries called Rogue. If I remember correctly, if I've somehow forgotten that, I'll go back. I got it in my collection in my closet, and I'll double check. But yeah, it was called Rogue.
I just opened a tab and typed it out because you caught my interest. I want to read it.
Yeah, the artwork was incredible. The storyline, the characters was just dark and very adult and very believable. And you got invested in these characters and what was going on. And it was one of the first comic book experiences I had as a kid that felt like I was not being talked down to. Because, I read it once and I was like, I'm not quite sure I get that because my mind was still a little bit developing for adult themes at that time. And every time I read it, I picked up something else over the years because I just understood more about sort of life and personalities and things. Great stuff. Yeah. And then you see what they do with those stories today. It's like, well, just adapt the fucking comic if you're going to do a movie. Just, it's right there. The storyboarding, the characters, the script, it's all right there. Just what is wrong with you?
You know what? Quiz and I have talked about that repeatedly. It's when you go to adapt comic books, it's like they're already storyboarded for you.
Yeah, I did appreciate in the Punisher TV series for Netflix, there were a couple of shots in the most recent season and the first season, just a couple here and there, which were direct takes out of frames or panels from some of the Punisher Max series comic books. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as I saw the shot frame, I was like, oh, and I was like, that's a very subtle fan service. And I was like, why didn't you do that the whole thing? Why am I getting like 1 or 2 shots that are good? I'm glad you guys paid attention to the comic books, but then the character's completely off, the writing's off, the story has nothing to do with shit. What are you doing? Like,
See,
so obviously you looked at the comic books. What's wrong with you?
that's the reason why I can't really hate on Zack Schneider too much, because he did that for 300 and followed fairly closely Watchmen for a lot of the visual and story.
Yeah. Okay. Watchmen. No, Watchmen shouldn't have been a movie. It's going to be a TV series, but it's a sequel series. And
yeah, the weird thing about Watchmen is the fact that they change things around. It's a little bit more believable, because I didn't really like the whole alien subplot in Alan Moore's version. But
before we drift too far into that mess,
All
I
right.
want to point out my hatred for Aliens Resistance, which was the follow-up to Defiance.
I
Really?
read Resistance. Yeah, I read
Yeah,
it. It
that was one of the most wretched comic books I read that year, and this was like 2018. It had Ripley teaming up with that strong independent woman that don't need no man, and together they were fighting the corporation, Tomb Raider style, because the plot was like a Tomb Raider comic book. It was horrific bad.
I read that because you told me it was bad, and I thought,
I warned you. Why did you read it if I was like, it's crap? Don't read it.
Well, it was one of those things where somebody says, "Oh my God, this thing stinks. Here, smell," and then you smell just to see how bad is. Like, I thought, how bad could it be? And then I read it, and I'm like, I'm going to pay attention when Jack speaks from now on, because I mean, when you keep looking at the clock reading a comic, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like, how long have I been reading this for?
It's not even that long of a book. It's like 24 pages, and you're like, oh, I hate this thing.
Yeah.
Now I kind of am curious. I might go and read it now too.
Now, you guys, obviously liking some Aliens, know about the or maybe you don't. William Gibson's original screenplay for Alien 3 getting really adapted and then readapted, and then Sigourney Weaver had her input as a co-producer, and it ended up really changing from its original format. Did you guys hear about this?
Somewhere I heard about William Gibson did a treatment at one point, but that's about it.
Yeah, I reviewed the comic adaptation.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jack didn't he? He even pitched it.
So,
CBC.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad you listen when I talk occasionally.
I listen. That doesn't mean I remember. Those are different things.
Oh, you're Monkey. Okay, got it.
I was just about to say, if Monkey can do it, God damn it, so can I.
I was listening. I just ignored you.
Wait, what was that?
Well, remember I mentioned that there was something that I was very excited about, and it's the reason I put a sexy colonial marine on the thumbnail and all of this stuff. Okay, get this. What's that? An Audible original audio drama starring Michael Biehn and Lan Henriksen. The original screenplay of William Gibson's Alien 3 is now available.
What?
Yep, full production.
I am so about this fucking audiobook, man.
God. So it's like, is it like a radio play with like special sound effects and everything?
Yeah, it's a full on.
What?
Well, see, that's not a a new sort of thing. I know England have been doing audio dramas for a very long time. There's tons of Warhammer ones. So
yeah, they do a lot of Warhammer and Doctor Who.
Yeah, I am a huge fan of the entire. BBC did audio plays for all of the Holmes canon, the Sherlock Holmes canon, and then started doing their own original stuff, and they're fucking fantastic. But let's read this article and find out more. Unfortunately, we're reading from Bleeding Cool, shilltastic garbage tier. But hey, when you want to get a hold of someone that's going to promote your stuff with an A+ rating, no matter what it is, that's who you go to. William Gibson wrote his legendary screenplay for Alien 3 more than 30 years ago. Now you can experience as an audio play thanks to Audible. Gibson wrote the script back in 1987 at the height of fame as the father of cyberpunk and cultural influence. He made science fiction hip and cool for the 80s with Neuromancer, Count Zero, and his short story collection Burning Chrome. When word hit that he was writing the next Alien movie, everyone got excited until the studio deemed it too expensive and put it in turnaround. It would have cost more than $50 million at the time, which translates to over $100 million in 2019 dollars. Gibson's script begins shortly after Aliens, after the Sulaco. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, Sulaco. Yeah.
Yeah, is rescued and taken to a space station. There were rumors that Sigourney Weaver didn't want to return as Ripley, so Gibson had to write her out and shift the focus to Hicks, Michael Biehn, and Bishop, Lance Hendrickson.
Yay!
Yeah, the plot continues the themes of aliens involving corrupt corporations trying to harvest aliens as weapons and deepens it into Cold War bioweapons arms race. What? Of course, things go pear-shaped, and Hicks and Bishop have to keep the new and quite different aliens from making it to Earth. What? Like, okay, so the pitch from they themselves, from Audible themselves, reads as follows. Audible is bringing William Gibson's uncovered Alien 3 script to life in audio for the first time to mark the 40th anniversary of the birth of the Alien franchise. Alongside a full cast, Michael Biehn and Lance Hendrickson reprise their iconic roles as Corporal Hicks and Bishop from the 86 film Aliens. Father of cyberpunk, William Gibson's original script for Alien 3, written in 87 as a sequel to Aliens, never made it to our screens, although it went on to achieve cult status among fans as the third installment that might have been after being leaked online. This terrifying cinematic multicast dramatization, directed by multi-award-winning Dirk Maggs, is the chance to experience William Gibson's untold story and its terrifying, claustrophobic, and dark encounters between humans and aliens as a completely immersive audio experience. Dude, take the money. Take my fucking money. The story begins with the Sulaco on its return journey from LV-426. On board the military ship are the cryogenically frozen skeleton crew of the film survivors Ripley, Hicks, Newton, Bishop. We travel aboard and hear an alarm blare. Our heroes are no longer alone. Fuck yeah.
I sincerely hope that they don't flip the script and kill Newton Ripley.
Yeah, you know who grew up to be hot? Newt.
Yeah.
Have you seen her as an adult?
Oh,
yeah,
I
man.
thought you were gonna say Ripley. That would have kind of creeped me out a little.
I mean, Sigourney Weaver's still got it, man. I mean, she's maybe a little old, but she's still pretty hot. Not gonna lie.
I watched Alien, the original '79 Alien, like 6 months ago, and watching it, like, I'd seen original Ghostbusters not too long before that, and I thought, man, Sigourney Weaver was never so hot as she was in 1979. Like, she really was a fine-looking lady back in the day, man.
Yeah.
Like, now you kind of have to go, she's hot for an older lady and add on all of these things. No, in 79, you didn't need to qualify it. She was just plain old hot. Anyway, my thoughts. So what, are you guys as excited as I am? I
don't have an Audible account, so I also have to wait till someone pirates it onto YouTube.
Well,
so like in a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, if you sign up for Audible now, you do get one book free with your first free credit. Audible, I'll totally do sponsorships. Hit me up.
I know, right?
Audible is one of the few companies I've said repeatedly I'd love to do, because I have an Audible account and I think it's a great service, and they actually do have pretty good customer service. Hit me up, man. I want to do sponsorships. I'll do it.
The woman that played Vasquez really doesn't look too good now, but
oh my God, no, she doesn't.
She was in Terminator 2.
Was she?
Yeah, she played the mom. She played Edward Furlong's mom, the one that has the knife come out and kill the guy through the milk.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And she was in Near Dark.
Wasn't she in Predator 2?
Yeah, she was in.
Yes.
That was Maria.
Alonso. No, yeah, that wasn't her. No, she was in Near Dark because Catherine Bigelow at the time was married to James Cameron, so he basically took like half the cast from Aliens, because Lance Hendrickson, Bill Paxton, and what's her name, and I honestly forget her name, who played Vasquez, is in there, and then she's been sort of a staple for the Cameron / Bigelow verse of movies.
I still hold it against James Cameron for not casting Michael Biehn in Terminator 2.
I
mean, he was in that deleted scene. Well, he was dead, but I mean, they did have him come back in a deleted scene where Sarah Connor's in the mental asylum, and what's his name? What's his character's name in Terminator?
In Terminator? Oh, fuck! I should know that off the
Future
top.
guy.
Kyle Reese.
Kyle Reese, yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Reese. There you go. Where he kind of appears to her like, "Get up, soldier! You can't just lie here and die." Like, and they cut that from the film, and I don't know why. I don't know. I love Michael Biehn, and he never gets his props.
Oh my God.
problem.
I just thought of a great idea for a deleted scene from Terminator. Kyle Reese gets blown into bits, and little E.T. comes out and starts collecting little pieces of him and eating them, like Reese's Pieces.
Boo.
Yeah, that's terrible.
No.
But now it'll be in your head all day.
Oh God.
I have a story that I don't think that here's something that I know Quiz will be looking forward to. No, maybe we'll see.
Well, I found this in the meantime.
Okay.
This is Carrie Henn, Kevin Smith, Stan Lee, and Adam Savage. Carrie Henn over here. That's Newt from Aliens.
Oh wow, she got. Okay, when I say she grew up hot, I meant in the fucking documentary that I saw that was like from 10 years ago. Jesus, she didn't stay hot. No offense, lady. I'm just saying.
They never
She doesn't look that bad. I'm just saying.
You know, I can never look at Adam Savage now. And okay, so somebody leaked a picture of him out online, and I unfortunately got to look at it. And it was unfortunate. Like, you know, people talk about Pro Jared, like I've seen Pro Jared's dick, my God. You know, that kind of thing.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
You want me to tell you what it was? Fine. I'll tell you what it was.
Did you see Adam Savage's dick?
No, his butthole and his taint and his sack.
What?
Ew.
Why?
Ew. Why?
What do you mean, why? I don't know. I was just shit. Like,
No, I mean, why would there be a picture of that? I don't understand.
Because he's big into the whatever the fuck grinder community, online sex hookup, whatever the fuck. And he took this picture of himself bent over and both legs held back like he's in stirrups.
Okay.
And I was like, Jesus fucking Christ, man. And I can never look at him now without seeing that.
I came here to talk about comic books.
Is this revenge for that comment about Kyle Reese I just made? Like,
I didn't take the picture. He took the picture. It's not my
yeah, but you're telling me about it. I don't want to. Let's move on, please.
All right, let's move on to something that might bother Quiz just as much. Let's find out.
No.
The new Black Label Joker Harley comic book, Criminal Sanity. Looking forward to it?
I don't know anything about it, but
Well, let's find out then. DC announces Joker Harley Criminal Sanity by Kami Garcia for Black Label. Dun dun dun. DC Comics announced a new psychological thriller comic book by best-selling author Kami Garcia and artist Mike Mayhew and Miko Suewaha. The 12-issue series will be called Joker Harley Criminal Sanity. Will ship monthly starting in October. In the out-of-continuity comic, that bodes well. Harley Quinn is a young and brilliant forensic psychiatrist helping the Gotham City Police Department pursue a vicious killer, the Joker. Hilarity ensues, or terror, one of the two. God, Jude Terror is a shitty writer, man.
Aside from Jude Terror being an awful human being, this premise makes me cringe just a little because it's going to be garbage.
Oh, yeah. I just, I figured, remember that moment from Suicide Squad where it's like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to hurt you really, really bad. I picture that scene stretched out to 12 issues.
Yeah, pretty much.
The series will also offer a different take on the Joker. No,
of course it will.
Yeah. According to Garcia, who, quote, wanted to approach the project as if the Joker was a real person, an intelligent and sane psychopath.
Wait.
Yeah, no,
I mean, maybe in the
right?
legal sense, you can be sane and a psychopath at the same time. I mean, yeah, that's true, I suppose.
Okay, so an intelligent and sane psychopath who kills because he wants to, not because he suffers from delusions. To me, a version of the Joker who is sane like John Wayne Gacy or Ted Bundy is more frightening.
I would hate to meet people that he thinks are crazy.
Yeah. No. Okay. Bundy and Gacy were methodical. They weren't sane.
Right.
Yeah. There's a big difference there.
Yeah. I mean, they were calculating and they were methodical and they were sociopaths, psychopaths, but they were not sane. What do you,
Maybe they sexually identified as sane.
Okay, or organized and sane are two completely different things, guys. Just a person whoever wrote this fucking thing doesn't know what they're talking about. Anyway,
just because you wear a people suit doesn't make you a people.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, this is written by Jude Terror, who over here, comic book curation, we've dealt with again and again because this is a bleeding cool article. This is the height of garbage tier. Like it's
is this person like our Chris Saliza?
Along those lines. But I mean, the worst.
Not quite that bad.
Yeah, that's Rich Johnston. But Jude Terror is Rich Johnston's like little minion. So,
okay.
Check out the press release. And this is interesting because I read through it before. New York, and Burbank, California. Places you wish you were, where the important people live. During the DC Black Label panel at BookCon today in New York, DC announced a new comic book series from their DC Black Label imprint, Joker Harley, Criminal Sanity. #1, written by blah, 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 blah. The 9-issue psychological thriller. Wait a minute.
Is it 9 or 12? Which one is it?
Jude Terror just set up here 12 issues.
Well,
series.
Jude Terror's an idiot. Keep going.
Right.
Where was I? The 9-issue psychological thriller follows Harley Quinn, the young and brilliant forensic psychologist and profiler, consulting with the Gotham City Police as she pursues a vicious killer terrorizing the city. She has no idea the investigation will bring her face to face with the most notorious serial killer in Gotham's history, the Joker.
It doesn't. Then why is she working on the case? But she works for the police department trying to catch the guy. Why does she think it wouldn't eventually, hopefully, bring him? What? Okay, never mind. I hope not to catch the guy. I would hate to do all this work and actually have it succeed.
In Gotham City, where heinous acts of violence are a daily occurrence, the Gotham City Police Department relies on Harley Quinn, a young Wait a minute.
That's sad.
What's her name supposed to be before?
Harleen.
It's Harleen.
Harleen. Yeah, Harleen Quinn. Harleen Quinzel. Yeah.
Harleen Quinzel, and it relies on Harley Quinn, and this is the official DC press release.
So
no, I mean nobody's going to.
Person's taking liberties.
It's just familiarity with the character, maybe. Unless in this alternate universe she doesn't have the crazy real name alias thing.
Yeah, but then you write it that way. Relies on. Quinzel to become Harley Quinn, parenthetically, right? You don't say J. Jonah Jameson hired Spider-Man to take photographs.
Okay, legit.
But anyway, to consult on their toughest cases, but Harley is haunted in one case in particular, when she found herself at the center of a horrifying crime scene the night she discovered the body of her roommate, left with a signature of a notorious serial killer, the Joker. Wait a minute. If her own roommate had this Joker's name on her body, why would she not be expecting to run into him anyway?
And they wouldn't hire her to work on this because she has a clear conflict of interest and can't be objective. What?
Yeah, I believe the term is material witness. I don't.
Yeah, okay, this person is a lousy writer. Yes.
When a series of gruesome displays of murder appear throughout the city, the past and present collide as Harley's obsession with finding the depraved psychopath responsible leads her down a dangerous path. She must decide how far she is willing to go, and what line she is willing to cross to solve the cases once and for all.
Yeah,
you're not writing a trailer here, guys. This is awful.
Oh God.
Well, Ryan makes a good point in chat. What if this is actually about Kevin Smith's daughter?
Ouch.
Yeah.
There is no quote, there is no character more terrifying than the Joker. He is one of the most complex psychopathic killers ever created, said Garcia. I wanted to approach the project if the Joker was real, an intelligent, insane psychopath who kills because he wants to, not because he suffers from delusion. Jude Terror, your article was nothing but cut and pasting from the actual press release, you fuck.
He's journalizing as hard as he can.
And wait a sec, the classic Joker wasn't delusional. He wasn't delusionally killed because he wanted to. Did you ever read the very first appearance of Joker in the Detective Comics?
Yeah.
Okay, it is a methodical, intentional, not crazy. Just he's doing it to sow insanity, but he's also doing it to rob people and commit crimes and things. He's not doing it because he's delusional or seeing things. The Joker is. Good Christ! Did you watch The Dark Knight? He wasn't delusional.
He's methodical.
The Joker you've written might not be delusional, but your understanding of the character is delusional.
Good point.
Jesus.
Well, a lot of these show websites don't even really read comics, So they don't understand what they're talking about most of the time. It's just agenda driven.
Oh, I thought this was DC's press release or something, or the writers' assessment.
No.
Well, even the press release, a lot of times people at DC don't seem to read their own comics.
Well, this part right here is the actual quote written part by Jude Terra, which is largely cut and pasted out of the press release, which is everything that follows. And Bleeding Cool calls that. I mean, when I say they're, peak shill, that's what I mean. I mean, you republished their entire press release from beginning to end, and then added something at the beginning that was really just cut and pasted out of it. That's shill-tastic.
Okay, and maybe I've misunderstood. Is this terror person the writer of the comic or just a reporter?
He's a reporter for Bleeding Cool, the website.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about like the writer of the comic was saying the Joker's not delusional this time. Like what?
Well, no. Okay, here I understand the confusion, and it makes sense because they're both saying the same thing. Because the writer for Bleeding Cool, Jude Terror, just literally repeated verbatim what the writer of the press release who wrote the comic said.
I see. Okay, my bad.
They said the same thing.
It's sort of funny. I've noticed this trend lately in a lot of news, stories and articles. Why does it seem that every single time that they're trying to like either emphasize a point or just lengthen their garbage articles, they will just repeat the same thing that other people have said, and then immediately afterwards put what they just repeated in quotes from the other person that had just said it.
Well, here's the thing. If you ever read CNN, basically it's like, okay, we're going to copy and paste from the Washington Post, and then we'll restate it in our own way so it doesn't completely look like we're just cribbing from another source. Like we're actually doing some work, which you're not. But
no, they do, because they don't have an investigative news team, and that's why they talk for a couple of paragraphs, usually starting with "Drumpf, am I right?" and then they get down to "as reported in the New York Times," as reported in the Washington Post, where they actually got the core info from.
We can all bring this back to when we were in college, and you had to have an extra couple of paragraphs for that term paper, and you were just padding a little bit, so you reiterate something. That's all they're doing here.
Yep. Is that what modern journalism is? It's just fucking term paper padding?
Yes. I've read enough CNN to say that is absolutely true. Yes.
Yeah, and the anchors have become the drama nerds. They're just there to emote. But this actual statement that originally Jude Terror had made, there it is repeated again. An intelligent and sane psychopath, right out of the press release, word for word, right? Who kills because he wants to, not because he suffers from delusions. To me, a version of the Joker who is sane, like John Wayne Gacy or Ted Bundy, is more frightening. In the series, Harley is the only character with the skill set and intelligence to hunt the Joker.
Okay. I could go on because I've read so much about serial killers, and like their ability to blend in with society is what makes them scary, is that they are unassuming. They don't look like a serial killer. They don't look like a threat. That's what makes Bundy scary. That's what made John Wayne Gacy to a certain extent scary. This guy runs around with fucking clown makeup on and laughs at people. Okay. Yeah. He's not a John Wayne Gacy. He is not a Ted Bundy, unless you entirely change the concept of the character to somebody who is just called the Joker but looks like Bruce Wayne. Okay, now that would be something else. If they did some kind of Vertigo thing where it's like the serial killer, the Joker, and nobody knows where he is, and he leaves these calling cards, and they never show the Joker until like the last 10 minutes of last 10 pages, and you find out it's Bruce Wayne. But there's nothing. He doesn't dress up like the Joker. That'd be a twist. There's my pitch for the night.
Scribe, stop writing better comics than are coming out, because they don't appreciate that.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, what's your social justice twist on it? Like, is he a evil cis white male?
Well, here's the thing. The writer in question that's being quoted here and coming up with these ideas about sane psychopaths, the tiny giants, right? Just oxymorons afoot. This is the part that is Kami or Kamai, it's Kami, whatever. Kami Garcia. And this is what the publisher, Dan DiDio, had to say. Yeah. Quote, when Kami came to us with the idea of profiling one of the most mysterious and dangerous characters in the DC universe, it felt so new and original.
Really?
Have you not been reading your own comics for the past 30 years? People have done histories of them. It was done excellently in The Killing Joke, telling his history and how he arrived at the spot that he's at. This is, and then, Dan DiDio goes on to say, Cammy, Miko, and Mike are taking great care to ensure that the mystery surrounding the Joker and Harley Quinn remains intact, except for exploring everything about their inner thoughts and lives, while delivering a story that's both compelling and haunting. The series is exactly that kind of unique standalone story that's perfect for DC Black Label and has absolutely nothing to do with capitalizing on the new Joker movie that's coming out soon.
Or Suicide Squad 2.
Right.
I got a better pitch. I just came up with a better pitch.
Cool.
Okay. You got a Vertigo thing, and a Vertigo deal, and it's like it's a retelling of the early years of Batman, right? And there's this serial killer out there called the Joker. Never heard of him before. He leaves these playing cards. He leaves, big smiles all over the place and all this kind of stuff. And the Batman, young Batman, only been actor for a couple of years. He's working the police department. You got the same deal. Jim Gordon was the guy that sort of took him, showed him sympathy after his parents got killed, all this other stuff. So Batman goes around trying to track down the Joker. And we come across all these sort of iconic characters in their early years in this version of things. But the Joker's completely sadistic. It seems like, unlike before where there's some kind of point to it, it's just people being slaughtered. Like there's no pattern to it. It just seems completely chaotic. Now that does fit in line with the Joker, but usually there's some kind of lesson being aimed at society or something. But no, just people being slaughtered. And then at the end of the thing, when he finally tracks the guy down and figures it out or finds that clue, Murder, She Wrote style, where we get to see everything the Batman sees, and maybe we as the audience have an opportunity to solve it before he does, or as he does. He walks out, he figures it out, he goes to Jim Gordon's office and confronts Jim Gordon, the Joker, who lost his sanity when he saw that kid's parents taken from him so callously all those years ago. On that night, both the Joker and Batman were born. He just didn't know it.
I'd read that.
And then at the end, you see Jim Gordon laugh hysterically with a big smile on his face. And that's like, then you cut to black because there's no makeup, no nothing. That's it. He just sees the whole thing as a big joke. He works for justice and this horrible thing happened. And so he just kind of gives up. Part of him does.
It describes something you mentioned earlier. Like if you like the idea of like the flipping the script of the roles between Joker and Batman, and there is a lot of interesting role flipping that can happen. White Knight is not everybody's favorite, but at least it's a serious attempt at originality, and I can really appreciate that. Like let's do something different. Let's do something wild. You know what it reminds me of? One of my favorite things that they ever did with the Joker, because I didn't see it coming from a million miles away, in Death in the Family, when Joker becomes the ambassador to Iran.
That is, I remember that. I've got Death in a Family in here somewhere.
It was great. He's like, and we have so much in common, like a mutual love of fish. Like it was Joker. He was insane. It's great. And of course, now Batman, even Superman can't take him on because he's this diplomatically protected guy. He was in the Arab chic mask. Or headwear. It was fucking great. And play it along that. The idea of Joker getting involved in politics, like, it was like Mayor Fisk when they made Kingpin Mayor Wilson Fisk. Okay, this is an interesting flip. Somebody actually had an idea here, as opposed to, see, the Joker's a serial killer, and I've been watching too much, Dangerous Minds or NCIS, so I'm going to have Harley Quinn go after the God, what John Wayne Gacy documentary were you watching last night when you vomited this shit out? I get the idea, really, that it's like when Cammy Garcia came to us, DiDio says, I don't think it was in that direction. I don't know, but my speculation is the editorial mandate was put out. It's like, okay, we need a Joker story, and we need the Joker told seriously, because not Heath Ledger,
Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix is going to be playing him as a real guy, an everyday guy, and we're going to be understanding his past. I want pitches for stories that are along that lines. Him as a real understandable guy, and that story came back to them. I don't believe this was, we got really excited. Yeah, according to your press release, buffed bullshit. Come on.
And now here's the other scary thought. Let's say that is the case. Let's say that's a scenario. Of all the pitches they got, that was the best one. That's an even scarier thought in that scenario, because holy, I mean, seriously, just listening to the summary, I picked out 2 or 3 major logical flaws in the whole thing. Audiences are more sophisticated. If you're going to do a dark, realistic story, you have to approach it, at least in part, from a dark, realistic place, like The Dark Knight. I just watched what was it? Ralph the Movie Maker, a YouTuber. He does some really, really funny movie reviews and things, some really insightful ones too. And he's talking about The Dark Knight. He's like this is not. I mean, it's got the veneer of reality and seriousness, but no, you got a guy running around in a bat cape and a guy running around as a clown, and these things are taken seriously. They're serious within the context of this universe, but otherwise, they're operating in a very realistic universe. You can have the characters be goofy. You can't have their circumstances be completely out of bounds with the setting you're putting them in. And that's the problem with that setup, as I hear it anyway.
Dark Knight, it to me worked out really, really well because they kind of spoiled, if you will, the movie The Dark Knight. They spoiled the Joker before you saw who the Joker was.
Yeah.
It was like the criminals are getting ready, so they're setting up their zip lines and cutting security electronics to the bank before they're doing the bank robbery, and they're talking about him. They're setting up who he is, and it's like, he wears makeup, and the guy goes, makeup? He goes, yeah, like war paint to scare people.
Right.
Nice, beautiful use of dialogue to just set up who the person is and make you take him seriously, even though he's a guy wearing clown makeup.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but it's calling it war paint. Nice move. Well done. It's almost like someone who knows how to write a script was working.
God forbid. Also, I think the Joker was the protagonist of that movie, but that's a whole other discussion.
Well, I have a long-standing theory, Scribe, about every story that involves Batman is actually Batman is the antagonist. The villains are all the protagonists.
Well, that's kind of what Gotham was, wasn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. I would say what my rationale is the fact that the stories, like when they when you think about the structure of a story, your protagonist is the one that's trying to accomplish something, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Batman's trying to maintain, the status quo, aka people not dying. So he's trying to prevent the criminal from doing whatever they want, whether it be something like as simple as, robbing, Gotham Bank with, some character like the Riddler, or whether it's doing something horrible to get further advancement for his research with curing Nora for Mr. Freeze. Mm-hmm. Either way, it's the fact that Batman is the antagonist of the story.
I always like the idea that the entire universe of Batman is Bruce Wayne sitting in a padded cell somewhere. This is all delusion of him feeling guilt over the death of his parents, and he's made up all these things that don't exist, and he's just sitting in the real world babbling to himself about penguins and playing cards and things, and all the doctors are looking at him like, I can't even imagine what he's going through.
His doctor is Hugo Strange.
I realize
exactly.
I've talked a gang of mess about Dark Knight, like Frank Miller's Dark Knight, and and how brilliant I think it is. And Quiz and I had it over Frank Miller. Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, that I just reread. If you enjoyed Dark Knight even a little bit, especially if you thought Dark Knight Strikes Again sucks, and I know there's a hell of a lot of detractors of it out there, I just think it was misunderstood. Dark Knight 3, wow, talk about story arcs. Superman, Carrie Kelly, the female Robin, and Batman all end up in wildly different places than they began in. It's like Frank Miller sort of, okay, I started this universe and it's this ultra dark, gritty, extremely corrupt Gotham City, murderous criminal gangs running amok. The series begins with Batman at 55 years old, et cetera, right? So where the hell do all those characters end? How do you arc them out? I think Frank Miller shows his sober, now that he stopped drinking, writing prowess, because man, where they end in issue 9 is just like, my God, that was a satisfying denouement conclusion.
You keep talking about Frank Miller. Jason Momoa is going to totally bang him.
I don't believe that Jason Momoa is going to go gay for Frank Miller just because he happens to hear. And besides, we summed it up. It wasn't Jason Momoa's yard that I've been throwing liquor bottles in. It was James Cawley the whole time.
Yeah, he's got a point. James Cawley admitted it.
Speaking of the Winged Knight, though, before we move on, we got Scribe on here because there's someone that I believe might agree with me on something. Robert Pattinson as Batman. I don't think this is that bad of an idea. Are you with me on this, Scribe?
I don't think it's a bad idea. If you look at so if you ignore Twilight and you watch him in other roles he's done, I'm thinking specifically. I know it's a weird one, but it was that one that Cronenberg. It was like Cosmopolitan or whatever the hell it was, where he's in the back of the limo the whole movie.
Yep.
Yeah. Was it called Cosmopolitan? Was it or something like that? Yeah.
Because the whole thing becomes him. It's like phone booth. The whole thing happens in a phone booth. He better be a good actor.
It's like phone booth. It's like Buried Alive to a certain extent. I mean, it's like a stage play basically. It might as well be or written like a stage play. And I was like, when I saw that, I was like, this. Okay, first off, it's Cronenberg. It is Cronenberg. I mean, my memory sucks on this.
No, you are right.
Yeah, it's going to be Cronenberg, which means it's going to be very, very odd. But I like Cronenberg a lot, and I watch it, and I was like, when Pattinson's left alone, and when he has the right director, he can pull off a pretty good story. It's not a. I mean, I've only seen one Twilight movie, and I was only barely watching it. But I've seen clips all over the place. And, if you take a good actor and you put him in front of bad material and a bad director, the actor's not going to look good. Not even a good actor can save bad material and bad direction.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Like actors, like they got this saying, if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage.
And here's the thing. Planet of the Apes, Matt Reeves did not do a bad job in the character study of Planet of the Apes for the first two. I haven't seen the third one yet. And so if he can take that same raw material that Pattinson has, and he can mold it correctly psychologically into a recognizable Batman, or at least a Batman that we can appreciate, I have no problem with it at all.
I came across a meme, and I was just going and looking for it, but I'm in so many Discord servers, I can't remember which server it was in, but it said, "No, this will not be Batman," and it was a picture of Pattinson as Edward Cullen, and he's sparkling in the sun. It says, "This will be your Batman," and it was 4 pictures of Pattinson from different films. He's like bearded and grizzled and looking angry. I'm like, that's what I'm saying right there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this will be Pattinson's first major studio film since Twilight, because I mean, he's done other movies, but they haven't gotten nearly the same kind of breadth and depth as and attention, because he's been in such minor roles elsewise. So I think he's been taking his time in relatively under the radar for the last several years, perfecting his craft, so he can be taken seriously as an actor after the whole Twilight bullshit.
Yeah. And it was on Twitter. Jim Healis posted it.
Who's
there
on
you go,
Twitter?
Scribe. Polly.
Ah, cool. There. Let's see. Yes.
Yeah.
No, this guy is Batman.
Yeah.
Look, center one with the glasses. Can I see that as Bruce Wayne in the back of a limo? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We started doing the limo. He's got the limo thing done now.
Yeah. And right next to that, off to the right, can I see this as a brooding Bruce Wayne in the Batcave? Yes.
Or what about Bruce Wayne in disguise doing detective fucking work or something?
Yeah. Shave this down to a goatee and he's matches Malone.
Exactly.
I mean, like I said, God forbid they make the world's greatest detective.
That is purportedly what Matt Reeves is going for, to actually deal with it as like a detective story and not just him punching people and swinging around all the time.
Yeah,
that was one thing that I really dug about the animated series, is that you'd see Batman going through files with a flashlight as he's trying to find out about stuff, and the detection was there because he detects. Because I mean, and people would even talk to him that way. They wouldn't call hey Batman. You'd have Ra's al Ghul saying, calling him. It's like, so detective, you thought you'd catch up with me? Like everyone recognizes him as this, and come on, let's play back into that instead of what's his name, Christian Stales. Oh, I'm
not wearing hockey pads. No, the thing about it is, Batman wears several titles. One of them is the world's greatest detective. The other one is the Dark Knight. And too many people have been doing the Dark Knight, and not enough people have been doing world's greatest detective.
Well, I always heard the Dark Knight detective, but either way.
Well, that too. But for those also who may be in doubt about the whole Joker being the UN ambassador to Iran, There's the panel. No, this
Yes.
is touching, isn't it? Well, my old pals, Super Sham and Bat Pest, have come to congratulate me. It's true, guys. I'm the Iranian ambassador to the UN. Eat your hearts out.
Yeah, see, Superman should have just melted his heart right there and been like, "What are you gonna do, Iran?"
Yeah, you know what? Superman can do. I've seen he can do the the eye beams without actual visible red beams.
Yeah.
It's like Superman could just like cook someone's heart from across the room, and then look, he had a cardiac arrest. Gotta go. Like,
But he's not a murderer and assassin, so he's not
wait a
bright.
minute.
He's not Brightburn.
Well,
I have
Kurt Russell.
seen Man of Steel. He is a killer.
Yeah, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel is bullshit.
No,
I've read Injustice. I know.
Yeah, oh, that's different.
he could have been Kurt Russell from Backdraft, and he's killing all these people to save them. He's putting everyone in danger. He's actually Zod and Superman.
It wasn't Kurt Russell that was the killer in Backdraft.
Oh, was it?
No, it was Scott. What's his name? Scott Glenn.
Oh my God, you're right. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a while.
I was about to say, like, if you say Kurt Russell being the bad guy, they're just saying Dark Blue. That's a whole different thing, though.
Yeah, I was getting them mixed up. Sorry
There's a killer in Backdraft.
Yeah, he's the guy that's setting up the backdrafts and killing people.
Oh,
start fires so he can.
I've never seen the movie. I just pictured it
Oh,
with like
sorry.
some
Spoiler alert.
movie.
Well, I was never going to go see it anyway.
It's a good
Or
movie.
get it anyway. It's just because I don't know. I saw it, and from the trailer or whatever the fuck little clips I've seen, I thought it was just a heroic story of firefighters saving orphans and kittens from burning buildings.
It's a murder mystery. It's really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Anyway, that's nothing to do with comic books.
Well, you never know. There might be a Backdraft comic book one day. But I did want to read
Backdraft Alien crossover.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Because we did bring up Zack Snyder, and that was the point of this article to begin with. Zack Snyder reacts to Robert Pattinson's reported Batman casting, and they keep reporting that, and at this point, it better be a thing, man. Current reports indicate Twilight star Robert Pattinson will replace Ben Affleck as the Cape Crusader and Matt Reeves' The Batman. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice director Zack Snyder has now reacted to reports of Pattinson's casting. Twitter user some guy shared a screenshot of Snyder liking a post about Pattinson's reported casting on social media site Vero, whatever. The post itself isn't much, but it does seem to indicate his approval of the choice.
What's he going to say? Is he going to like downplay DC's decision or Warner's decision? He wants to have a job in the future. He doesn't care.
Right.
Hold on for a fucking second. You're trying to tell me CBR? I mean, okay, quit. Scribe. We go through all the garbage tier sites here, and one of our ongoing things was CBR.com, which does comic books and pop culture movies and shit. Is it they make articles out of nothing?
Yes.
And we've made fun of them for making articles out of a single tweet. They just made an article out of a like.
A tweet.
Well, they're not CNN.
They're working on it.
They're not as high quality as CNN that'll make a whole article out of like a contextualized tweet. Yet, I don't know. Anyway,
they're working on it.
And it says like over here is an excuse me, is a side article. The Batman. Willem Dafoe weighs in on Pattinson's casting rumors. Did he like a tweet too, CBR?
hey, if they get him to play the Joker, thank God.
Well,
hey, if there's one guy that should have played the Joker from the beginning, Jesus.
yeah, good point. If there's someone who's gaunt enough, huh?
Yeah, got the smile too when he wants to. Have you seen that somebody photoshopped a picture of him and make him look like the Joker? It's perfect.
No,
Can you imagine Willem Dafoe as the Joker?
Yeah, just Google Willem Dafoe Joker and you see someone's deal of it. It looks like it's straight out of like Arkham City or something.
Yeah, get Willem Dafoe as the Joker and Christopher Walken as Batman.
Yeah, Walken's too old.
Walken's already been in a Batman movie. I mean,
But he could be Batman. It could be like the geriatric Joker versus geriatric, and then they're solving the case of who killed Natalie Wood.
Oh,
there's Willem Dafoe as the Joker.
Jesus Christ! Look at that.
I know, right? It's perfect.
You evil man. I mean, this is what I'm going to see at the foot of my bed when I wake up in mid-nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. I was because I like the older in their Frank Miller Dark Knight Batman, like the Batman in his late 40s, early 50s, gray-haired Batman. I really dig that style, and I didn't think Ben Affleck was going to be able to pull off Bruce Wayne, because that's always the question for me. Not who can play Batman, but who can play Bruce Wayne. And I didn't realize that they were going to go full Frank Miller Dark Knight Batman in BVS. But they did. Multiple of the story elements are lifted right out of Dark Knight Returns. And that's the best part of the movie. I really dug it. And then it's like, so you remember the rumors? It's like, Ben Affleck is helmed to direct a Batman movie. I've seen 3 films that Ben Affleck has directed. He's extremely competent of a director. Okay. Man. What do you, no, you don't think so?
What was his most recent thing? The Night Thing or whatever, where he's like the gangster. He wrote, starred, and directed that thing. It's fucking sucks, dude.
Yeah, it really did. And Zoe Saldana's overrated, man.
Yeah, I mean, and he did Argo, but somebody else wrote Argo. It's not.
Yeah, but Live by Night is also based upon a book.
That's what it was, Live by Night. Well, it doesn't matter if it's based on a book. I mean, Godfather was based on a book. If you're a bad director and a bad writer doing the screenplay and everything else, you can still fuck up a really good book.
Yeah, but if your name isn't Orson Welles, you shouldn't write, direct, and star.
Yeah, exactly.
But one of my favorite movies in the last 10 years, The Town, was starred, produced, and directed and co-written by Ben Affleck.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
From the first 30 minutes, that movie made absolutely no sense to me. It's like he's going to start stalking the lady that he kidnapped. It was just the most bizarre, made no sense. I'm supposed to like this guy or root for it.
She was the lone witness to the crime that could voice identify them, and he thought that his friend was going to kill her if he got involved. So he just started following her to see what was up to her and ended up falling in love with her. Then he was caught in this impossible position where he's the one that she can rat out, but at the same time he's in love with her. It's classic drama. What doesn't make sense?
No.
there's one thing I've got to bring up, because I just found another one, and this is an unlikely sort of thing. Getting back to the whole Willem Dafoe playing the Joker thing, I think literally any actor that is fairly decent could play the Joker. The Joker is very much a sort of identity based around an image, and anyone can get that image. Anyone can become that image.
Not Jared Leto.
Well,
yeah.
I think that was a very poor execution.
It depends on the writing. So like I said, any actor with the right direction and the right script can make a character legendary.
Yeah.
If you let Jared Leto just like ad lib his performance basically and just sort of let him do crazy shit on set and everything, and then just say put a camera on it, that's not direction. It's not much of a character. The way they used him in Suicide Squad, he might as well not even been there. So who knows?
I agree with that.
He could have been a good Joker. I'm not saying he couldn't have been, but he doesn't get a second shot to bite at the apple,
Yeah, I think I could agree with that. But to the point here, how about Leonardo DiCaprio as the Joker?
I remember when that was rumored.
His head's weird shaped. No.
You see, if you're going to do the Joker, I think one of the things is you have to... The problem with doing an iconic character like that, I think, honestly, you have to find an actor who is not a headliner. You have to take away... Like casting Will Smith as anything. You're just casting Will Smith.
Thank you.
Joaquin Phoenix is at least enough of a fringe actor, and he's done so much eclectic stuff that you can't pigeonhole him as doing a specific thing or having a specific portrayal. It's not Joaquin Phoenix that you're hiring. You're hiring an actor, And I think that's one of the things that Hollywood gets wrong a lot of times is casting mainline actors as iconic characters. That's why Robert Downey Jr., who nobody had any faith in to begin with for a lot of reasons, and reasonable reasons at the time, fit so well into Tony Stark, because you didn't know what to expect from him, because Robert Downey Jr. is an unpredictable person in real life, or had been at that point. And his personality and his personal background fit in so well with the psychology of that character, regardless of what his professional career was, that it just made sense. And he became that character, and he became iconic. So Robert Pattinson, he's not necessarily a headline guy. So I think he'd make a good Batman. Whoever is the Joker, no, don't make a Leonardo DiCaprio. Find somebody like what the fuck is his name? Ben. Shit,
Stein.
No, not Ben Stein. 30 Days a Night, the guy who played the Drifter, the guy who played Angel in X-Men 3, Ben Foster. Ben Foster's the Joker. That'd be a great casting, I think.
See, you know what? I think about these things where
Ben Stein, it's like, hi, Batman.
It would be hilarious. It would be so
just for you to die, Batman.
I've got you again, Dark Dizzle. Ha ha.
See, I think about this when it comes to writers who the big two comic companies, Marvel and DC, right, give writing jobs to. And I think about it when it comes to Hollywood giving jobs to actors. There must be so many actors that, you know, the old story of the actors sitting at home waiting for that phone to ring from their agent, you know, and writers, like, they must get so angry, up and comers that are good at what they do, have gotten good reviews and the little things they've been in, and they see DiCaprios and Phoenixes getting cast again and again and again and again because they have these puff pieces in Hollywood Reporter and et cetera, et cetera. It's like Zoe Quinn getting a writing job at DC is such an insult to every up and coming wannabe comic book writer out there. She's never written a piece of fiction before in her life. What the fuck are you giving?
Write the narrative on Gamergate.
I mean, it all comes down to the industry or the producers making decisions versus saying, okay, let the director create the vision he wants, and let's not worry about getting name recognition. But the problem is that the business side of it is you need to get investors, you need to have financing, you need to be able to get people to sign to it. And unless you get a big name somewhere in there, sometimes you have to get somebody with a name, even if you're sacrificing potential quality of an actor. Because if you have an actor that's not been proven to be a box office draw for a franchise like Batman or something else. So Pattinson actually is really surprising, honestly. The fact that they gave Matt Reeves enough discretion to cast Pattinson versus somebody with bigger star power right now is actually kind of refreshing.
By the time that they've, you know what, you make a very good point, because I remember having this conversation with people in and around Ghost in the Shell when they're like, come on, Scarlett Johansson as the Major? Like, are you fucking serious? And I'm like, she's not even Asian, and the whole thing. And it's like, yeah, but you have to get investors, and somebody has to be temporarily attached, like meaning statement of intent that Scarlett Johansson has signed, to be able to go around to various production studios and say, are you willing to take a risk and dump 30 million each into this film? What film? Well, it's this really popular anime. Anna what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Scarlett Johansson starring. Oh, yeah, now they're interested. I hear you. That's a fair point. But once you've got a director and a casting director and the studio is set and it's the Batman franchise and it's Warner Brothers behind it, I'm not sure if there's that same need to cast somebody who's this has started getting into inside Hollywood that I don't know about the politics, but it would seem like at a certain point, no, there is more leeway once that much ground has been covered and that much commitment has been made.
You see what I think has changed the psychology on having a name actor and all this is actually Marvel. Guardians of the Galaxy. You've got no big name actors there at all. Oh. I mean, unless you're a big Parks and Rec fan or a WWE fan, you probably don't know any names of the starring people.
Zoe Saldana was.
Well, Zoe Saldana had it, but she was part of an ensemble. She wasn't the lead. And then, of course, you got the example of Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth. You got these guys who are, before they became Marvel guys, they weren't top tier big name guys, but the franchise, the weight of the fans, allowing it to really feed off of the energy of the genre is what brought in people. Because now you can say, we've got a comic book movie. It's based on this, this, and this. And as we've seen from Guardians of the Galaxy, the sales pitch isn't so much you have to have a name actor. You have to be able to say the idea is good enough and the writer's good enough to carry it no matter who we cast. And they can point to these other movies and say, it can work. So if you want to take a risk on missing out on the next Guardians of the Galaxy. So for that, at least, I'll give Marvel credit for allowing the possibility to allow artists to do what they want to do and give some of the lower tier, at least as far as exposure actors, a chance to do something new.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess the most surprising thing, like at least Robert Downey Jr., like, okay, obviously the guy came and did a screen test as Tony Stark, and reading the lines, and like, so they know the kind of character he is from the comic books. Admittedly, they don't have to stay in lockstep with that, but they have an idea of who he is to make it work. And then Robert Downey Jr. comes in and does his thing. I mean, that must have carried a fuck ton of weight with him.
Oh yeah,
you know, this guy's snark. He's a very smart speaker. You know, he's quick. Like, yeah.
I think Jon Favreau pretty much knew it was going to be him from the beginning. It was like basically said, Robert, this is your part, or something like that.
But the big risk is really Chris Hemsworth, like for Thor. It's like we need a big beefcake guy who can do the long blonde hair thing and do a little bit of comedy, because there was definitely some comedic elements in there.
Mm-hmm. No, man, I stand by that. Chris Hemsworth is going to be the Brad Pitt of this generation. That guy is very, very talented, and somebody recognized that when he was still cheap enough to afford.
Once he gets into, I mean, he's done a couple of dramas already. There was that racing one, or this biopic with the racers or whatever. I forget what that was called. If he gets a really juicy, like straight lead drama, yeah, he could do it. And then Marvel's basically written his ticket for the next 10 years anyway, so whatever.
Well, you know, one thing I will say about Chris Hemsworth, like really quick, is like one movie. I hate movies that I really, really want to like, and then it's like, oh well, that was totally disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
The Live by Night is a good example. I loved the gangster era, the Prohibition era. I was such a fan of Argo and The Town that I was like, and Ben Affleck starring and directing. Fuck yeah, I was there on opening night, and I was like, well, I'm a third of the way through this movie, and I could fall asleep at any moment.
Yep.
Like it.
I was worried you were going to say Ghostbusters 2016.
No, I did not want to like that. But the film with Hemsworth that I really wanted to like was Black Hat.
Oh God,
I'm a big fan.
I'm sorry.
I'm a big fan of Michael Mann.
Yeah,
love his directing, love his script writing. And then I'm like, it's about hackers, and it stars Chris Hemsworth. That's a weird choice. And then I watched him, like, this movie's dumb.
Yes. Well, the trailer convinced me of that. I was like, okay, Michael Mann really lucked out with Collateral, but I haven't heard much from him in years. I wonder why that is. Probably because most of his pitches were like, And so in Black Hat, I was like, because honestly, Chris Hemsworth as a hacker, my first thought goes back to like Swordfish, where you had fucking Hugh Jackman as a hacker. And I'm like, okay, hackers don't look like Hugh Jackman. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, they just don't. They don't look like muscle-bound guys who stand on top of their trailers doing golf shots off, doing this. It's just like no. And so that was my first sort of cue, and that was like Michael Mann doing a hacker movie. He does better with like Miami Vice, gritty crime stuff, noir. Hacker stuff isn't noir. Anyway,
it's yeah, and I mean, when you see like. When you look at Michael Mann's history, like, dude, you do crime cinema like few people do.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you wrote Miami Vice episodes back in the day that they turned into cornball Miami Vice episodes, right? Yep. And it pissed him off, and he talked about it repeatedly. I want to do serious stuff. So he gets a chance to do it again and look at the Miami Vice film. Unfortunately, it turned into a giant, let's make these two guys look as cool as humanly possible.
Well, there was a lot of other factors that fucked up the Miami Vice film, because Jamie Foxx is a prima donna, amongst other things. But that aside,
Thank you.
Yeah, Miami Vice wasn't. Yeah, if you look into the history of the whole thing, yeah, that had some behind the scenes. But I mean, Collateral, Manhunter, hell,
Heat.
Heat. Yeah, Heat. Crime Story, wasn't that Michael Mann?
Yeah. And then the way back in the day original. Manhunter. There.
The original, Hannibal Lecter movie. Yeah. And the Brian Cox's Hannibal Lecter was great.
Damn you, Scribe! You've taken us off subject. So let's go back.
Okay. Well, I got a comic thing for you.
Oh, okay.
Unless you have something planned. Sorry, I didn't want to step on your toes.
Not particular. What plan?
Okay. All right. So this is what I want to. I assume at this point there's no danger in doing endgame spoilers.
No. Well, I mean, there is a danger, but for all of you in the audience who haven't seen it yet, you might want to click off now and come back in about a few minutes.
So I don't know if anybody's pitched this before. So if I'm repeating somebody else's idea, whatever, this is what always bothered me. I didn't like the fact, and a lot of people comment this, that we have past Thanos as the big bad at the end. Because and my problem with it is embodied very pointedly in his interaction with the Scarlet Witch when she shows up. So Scarlet Witch, is resurrected. She shows up. Thanos is standing there, and she looks at him. She says, "You ruined my life." And he says, "I don't even know who you are." And she says, "Oh, you will." And I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. There's no weight to this interaction. He has no idea who you are because he never did any of the things that you were blaming him for. And that's the case for the entirety of that battle, is that the person they're fighting has no emotional investment in them, but they have an emotional investment in the visage of him. So I always hated that part. So I have a different ending for Endgame I would like to pitch. The only problem is I don't have one piece of the resolution. Okay. So first and foremost, you cut out everything about going back in time and Thanos becoming part of the story. Okay. You have Nova go with Thor to get his, and Rocket to go with War Machine to go get his thing. So you don't have that whole net thing with her brain or whatever. Not Nova, sorry. Gamora's sister. I suddenly forget her name. Nebula, not Nova, Nebula. Okay, it's celestial bodies. So you take Thanos out of the whole being the bad guy. Instead, what you do to fill up that time is you actually have them plan out. You watch them sort of like Ocean's 11 style, plan out the time heist ahead of time, so that we as an audience can follow along as they do their things, and then we can also see the weight of when they go wrong, because we know ahead of time how they were supposed to go. Taking that piece of the puzzle out of it, I think, diminished the impact of watching them do the time heist. Is that we don't know exactly how they're going to do what they're going to do, that we just have to watch it, so we don't know if did this go right, did this go wrong. That would have been better time spent, I think. And then everything happens essentially the same. You have all the past stuff happen, except minus out the Thanos stuff. All the little sort of Back to the Future, see the previous movies things. That's all fun. Get to the point where the Hulk, uses the gauntlet and brings everybody back, right? And then we have like sort of a false resolution for a moment. Like all the Avengers get back together and they kind of, go over the loss of the 5 years and all the catastrophe and what they have to do. And then they go over and they say, what we have to do is we have to take all the stones back to where we set them because of what the Ancient One said. And they go over, but the gauntlet's gone. And they all turn, and the Scarlet Witch has it on. And she's like, I have seen nothing but death in my entire life. I have to stop this from ever happening again. She's gone kind of mad because the Vision still isn't there. He's still dead. He wasn't brought back. Her brother died. Her family died. Her entire country basically got blown up right in front of her. When she tried to save all those people in Civil War, she put crossbones up into the air, but she ended up blowing up a building and killing other people too. Everywhere she's gone has seen death inadvertently visit upon her. So she is going to delete death from the universe. Okay. Now, this is the opposite of what Thanos was going to do. He was going to kill half of life in the universe in order to preserve it. She wants to eliminate death. And she, articulates this in some way to the group. And they're like, no. And like, Banner and the other guys are going like, no. If you eliminate death, see, I'm taking this plot line straight from Secret Wars #6, I think, where the Beyonder was faced with, he was trying to be a savior of the world and everything else in this particular issue. And there's this guy, this human who's sort of like his spokesman for the whole thing. And at some point, he says he's going to do the most humane thing you can think of, and that is to eliminate death. Now, in the Marvel comic books, death is a sort of embodied figure of a Grim Reaper in the whole multiverse of cosmic entities and everything. And so he kills death. And then all of a sudden, the human guide of his goes like, well, wait, if there's no more death, there's no more meaning to life. Why eat? Why fall in love? Why get up in the morning? We work better because we have a clock and all that. Anyway, she goes nuts and she's decided but she has to figure out how to use this glove. So she like flies off somewhere and they have to follow her. And she's so intent on like ending death while she tries to figure out how to do it, that the big battle is she uses the gauntlet to conjure up everybody's worst fears. And then you can bring back all the villains from the previous movies. You can have the Abomination there. You can have Red Skull, and everybody's fighting the big battle while she's trying to, because they have to fight one of their own. They're trying to fight somebody trying to do a benevolent thing, although she's gone kind of kooky about it. And that also fits in with the comic books, because the Scarlet Witch went nuts at one point trying to do quote unquote a good thing, but because she lost her senses about it. And so the big battle happens. And the one part I'm not sure about is how Iron Man nobly dies, because, you know, it doesn't quite have the same oomph to it as him killing Thanos and destroying his entire army and everything. But I thought it would be a much more interesting and poignant twist to have somebody try to do the opposite of Thanos. And you can see, it goes back to the Infinity War, is like balance, you know, as with all things, balance, just as things should be. Right. And she is the opposite side of the Thanos coin, whereas, like, you know, you have to have death in order to bring balance to the universe, rather than, you know, trying to eliminate it, that kind of thing.
Okay.
I also wrote an alternate version of the movie, and it was Scarlet Witch Endgame, and it was just 45 minutes of me banging Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
It's a long script with really gory detail. But I've got it worked up. I'm going to run it by Elizabeth Olsen's people, see if they're interested. But I will have to insist on full penetration.
That's a writer.
Thanks for taking my pitch seriously. Thank you. Thank you.
Holy fuck. Okay, so
well, I liked your idea. I just like mine a little better.
All right.
Probably trying to get people serious here.
No, I'm not trying to get anyone serious. The Infinity War as a standalone film is great. It kind of presents the problem that Michael Piller found himself in when he wrote the season 3 end episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where it's like Captain Picard's been kidnapped, he's been turned into a Borg, blah blah blah, and okay, we're gonna blow him up. And then Piller thought that he was done with the series, and he's like, well, let the next guy handle it. And then they renewed his contract for the next season. He's like, oh, shit. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like they made this great standalone film. What do you do now? Well, see, when you read the original Infinity Gauntlet, the relationship between Thanos and his daughter Nebula was not played the way that it was in the film. Whereas, like, he's willing to take her apart and put her back together and blah, 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 blah. Thanos is extremely antagonistic towards his daughter, and he actually burns her alive. She got set on fire by a plasma fire on board a Kree ship. And then Thanos comes along to her after he gets the Infinity Gauntlet and sees her that she's in this state where she's just about to die. And he says, what a perfect tribute to my love, meaning Lady Death, the actual embodiment of death. And snaps his fingers, and I'm going to keep her forever in a hovering state between life and death, forever at the moment of just about to die, as a tribute to death. I mean, that's dark as fuck. And I mean, how are you going to do that in a movie? I get that. And they don't want Thanos to be this lover of death, this universal necromancer, as it were. So they make him this universal environmentalist instead. And it's okay. But now that element is pulled away because, spoilers, how do they solve the problem in the original Infinity Gauntlet? Nebula steals the gauntlet from him. Mm-hmm. That that's the big moment when it happens, and you have. So how do you? My question when watching Endgame was, you know what? I see what you did here, and aside from the little things like the time travel and the problems that always come up in time travel stories, and the end scene that a lot of people had an issue with Steve Rogers and stuff. Aside from that, it's like I don't know how you would have done it otherwise. Like I'd really have to put. You made Thanos such a likable character. And you didn't create enough antagonism, and you didn't make Nebula angry at him to want to fuck her father over by stealing his gauntlet. Who else hates him enough to want to do this, where there's the big drama that she has turned on him, and thus the just desserts that Thanos so richly deserve come back to haunt him at this moment. I mean, that's how it worked in the comics. Excellent writing. I don't know how you transfer that over. Who did Thanos screw over enough that there would be, or is antagonistic enough towards? It's like dead Gamora somehow comes back from death, in her life was traded soul for a soul. Somehow she's got a beef, and she's the one that appears at the last moment to steal the gauntlet from him. And it's like, because I can't think of another character that Thanos that there would be enough dramatic just desserts in that other than Gamora. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the problem is that the reality is I still have to write Iron Man out of the whole series because Robert Downey Jr.'s retiring. That was sort of the limitations I had on my ideas. Like I still have to lead up to the same outcomes for for real world stuff in my plot line, and I don't see how Iron Man dies in that scenario.
The Iron Man dies. Okay, I hear you. He still, Robert Downey Jr. still has the heroic moment because he's going out. So he has to go out in a blaze of glory because that's what we want. Yep. You know, he and Tony Stark is the super genius. And at this moment, he realizes it's not a technical solution, which is always how he displays his genius through mechanics. You know, it's not a technical solution that's going to get us out of this. As a matter of fact, I'm the one that somehow rescued Gamora from this, and her and I came up with this plan. And he's the one that, because in the comics, it's they convince him, Thanos, why are you just acting upon the universe? Because you're doing this, you're recreating this planet, you're creating whole planets of nothing but never-ending execution as a monument to your love, death. You know, you're doing all these powerful things, but you're just acting upon the universe. Why don't you bond with the entire universe? Why don't you expand your mind throughout the entire cosmos and join with every living being so you will literally know everything that's going on at all times? And he's like, hey, that's a great idea. And when he sits back to do it, he goes into like this comatose galactic state. And that's the moment when he's so out of it that Nebula is able to steal the gauntlet from him because he's not there mentally to see that it's even happening. I mean, somehow Tony Stark is the one that is able to trick him into this. I don't. I'm this is top of my head shit. I'm just trying to think.
Well, yeah. I mean, that. Yeah, I still don't like the past Thanos showing up in the first place, but that's, you know.
Yeah, neither did I. That was one part of the script that, considering what an incredibly excellent job they did with a million different story threads in Infinity War, they had an equal amount of crazy story threads going on in Endgame, but they weren't able to weave them as expertly.
Yeah, the 5-year jump, Thanos being back from the past, all that stuff. And I can appreciate, you know, the Morgan Stark thing. I can appreciate the you know, the sort of post-apocalyptic nature of things afterwards and quote unquote defying expectations, not having an easy answer to the thing. But I just wish they'd done something else, because that just, and that's why I'm like, it would have been more interesting if they did set up Thanos to be a death worshiper at the end of Avengers, when it's like the guy says to challenge them would be to court death, and then of course he turns and smiles because, oh, courting death, I love courting death because she's hot. Oh, actually, there's a side note. Do you know what Death's real name is?
Evelyn.
Dave. Yeah, in Secret Wars 2, number 6 or whatever, when the Beyonder realizes the mistake he's made by killing Death, his guide to the human world offers himself up as the sacrifice to become Death, and his name is Dave.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I think they did set themselves up for some potential storylines out of this, though, because they could bring in the multiverse, and like they're trying to do with Spider-Man, apparently, which I don't think they're actually doing, but anyway.
Yeah.
They could create splinter universes, and that gets the attention of somebody from the future whose future is possibly destroyed by what they did with the Infinity Gauntlet, and that is Kang the Conqueror.
Man, Infinity War was so great because you'd get to see Doctor Doom teaming up with Kang the Conqueror and taking on cosmic level beings. I would fucking love that. That would be
there's going to be a What If TV series on Disney Plus. And so they'll probably do stuff like that. They're going to justify that. The whole Mysterio from another dimension thing, I'm kind of like, I bet it's a con job. Because, you know, Mysterio's kind of a con artist.
Well, it would explain, you know, because they have like the water elemental that's really just Hydro Man helping him out, and Molten Man. They're all working together. It's a big racket to steal some money from S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, something like that. That's what I'm hoping for, because it's like, yeah, he's running an alternate universe. Like, I don't think so.
Yeah, but anyway. I think they opened the door with the time travel thing to set up alternate futures for future movies, like bringing Kang the Conqueror into a future Avengers movie, and bringing like Kill Raven in an alternate dystopian future. I think that could be really interesting.
Well, Scribe, you may not know, but Inquisitor is somebody who believes very strongly in voting with his dollars, and so he refuses to see many films.
Yes.
I'm curious, Quiz. Are you actually going to go see like the new Spider-Man film? Are you going to go see the Rise of Skywalker just to fucking get it over with? Anything?
No. I don't plan on seeing any of those movies. No.
He's a man of strong resolve and morality.
And conviction, yes. I was planning on seeing Godzilla.
I don't know. I feel like sending you the $15 just so we can fucking talk about the films. Like it. God damn it, man.
I would like to thank the Polydub Needs a Streamlab for the $5 donation on Streamlabs. Thank you.
Somebody actually named themselves Polydub Needs a Streamlabs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is commitment to the joke, man. I am thoroughly impressed. That's
I love it because like even after he gets a Streamlabs, please keep donating, saying that he needs to get a Streamlabs.
Well, I mean,
yes, here's a donation link you can give to, so that Poly doesn't get any money.
See, this is the thing. I am cynical and blackpilled enough to know when a meme is a meme. It's not like when I get the Streamlabs, which is coming up, that suddenly I'm going to be getting Streamlabs. The donations are still going to be going to Jack saying, I can't find Poly's Streamlabs link. Like, I mean,
and you know what? I'm okay with that.
Moron. I know how these things, I know you're okay with it, Jack. That's not the fucking point here.
Ryan Walters brings up a good point that I've been meaning to ask Scribe about. What did you think of Sam Jackson Nick Fury versus David Hasselhoff's Nick Fury?
I mean, for the isolated world in which it was, the Hasselhoff Fury was all right, I guess. And I like
awesome?
Sam. Sorry?
You mean fucking awesome? It was the Hoff, man.
Well, yes. But it was also David Hasselhoff. And it was like, what was that, 95? 90? When the hell did it
Yeah, right around there.
Yeah. I saw it once years and years ago. I remember like going like, well, it's kind of like Nick Fury. As far as Sam Jackson, I liked him up until his origin story was told in Captain Marvel, or his eyes origin story was told. I thought, really, you would have been better off never explaining it. Really, some things should just be always wondered about, and that, yeah. Anyway,
did you know that IDW are going to be writing a Captain Marvel book now, and it's all about the Flurkin Scribe. So you got a whole comic dedicated to it.
Oh, I won't read it, just like I haven't read Marvel in any consistency for decades now.
What's sad is the IDW stuff is better written than most of the actual Marvel books.
Yeah. Well, the most Marvel I've read recently, at least, were the initial Darth Vader books, and those were fucking awesome. Those were really well done, those first few issues of the Darth Vader comics.
Yeah, a lot of their Star Wars stuff is pretty solid, but man, their regular books are such garbage.
Yeah.
Did you see the one that got the Mary Sue's panties in a twist?
Oh, which one?
The one Vader book with the Cohen clean up this garbage.
Oh yeah,
in my chamber.
They killed this obsessive lover. This lady.
I read that one. Yeah, I read that. That was great. That was like, oh, she wants to be the Harley Quinn of the whole. No, she's dead.
Yep.
That's perfect. That was exactly what it should be. It was nice and isolated. It could take place in the universe and didn't disturb a goddamn thing. It was great.
Yep. And that chick was crazy.
But it didn't stop the Mary Sue from identifying with her. Come on.
No, of course not. Yeah, like, how dare you? How dare you like kill someone who loves him?
I knew it was in my meme folder somewhere. There he is. David Hasselhoff as Zephyr.
I thought he had the look for the part, but man, what a
look at him. Look at him here.
Now, you know who made a good Nick Fury? Tommy Lee Jones in about the 90s.
God, yeah, I could see the raggy, leathery face even then.
Yeah, he could have pulled it off if you give him the right haircut, give him the eye patch, and because after Fugitive, you don't get much more authoritative and asshole at the same time than is Gerard in Fugitive.
Yeah. I'll say I was not digging it until you said Fugitive. Yeah, I could see, Fugitive, Tommy Lee Jones. I just, the way when people bring up Tommy Lee Jones and comic book related things, I immediately go to Batman Forever. And I didn't mind Batman Forever, comparatively speaking, but good Lord, he was the weakest part of that whole movie.
Well, my dream casting for Nick Fury actually would be Paul Newman.
From what year?
Like Color of Money years, like mid '80s.
Oh, I got another Streamlabs. Sorry, my notifications aren't working, guys. Thank you, Cryptic. Polly needs a Cream Lab since he failed at Streamlabs.
What the fuck is Cream Labs?
Oh,
I'm fairly certain it's probably a porn site.
Well, I was going to say, is that like a specific Streamlabs just for like cam hose?
I was about to say it was like a cam site deal.
I would think it's more of a massage parlor of the soul.
So it's like Hellraiser, except we're gonna rub your soul apart.
Yeah, slowly. Thanks, Cryptic.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
Well, apparently Cream Lab is a thing, creamlab.com, and it's a t-shirt website where you can create your own design and put it on a t-shirt.
Yay.
Yeah.
So it's Teespring. All right.
Okay, and just in case you guys forgot, Amelia Clark is hot as hell. Just saying.
Dude, you were trying to get that chick banged by Jason Momoa. What is with you?
Right?
I can't help it. She's hot as Sarah Connor. Look at her in the leather jacket. Look at those eyes. Oh my God.
She looks hotter on Game of Thrones.
I wasn't sold on her as Sarah Connor from the first preview. I'm like, what? No.
I was okay with it. She can do a passable American accent, which a lot of English actors cannot. I mean, it's a complaint that I hear about forever with, Americans doing a British accent. Don't you realize that to our ear, you don't sound British at all? And it's like, and you think that you're a passable American? Fuck off. Anyway, it bugs me. We were talking about Disney just a second ago in terms of their streaming service. So why don't we move on to Disney's censoriousness related to our stream title today?
And
Disney,
our culpability in it, because even though we're microscopic, they could hit us with it because we did.
They could, but we were smart enough last week. Remember, we actually said it live on the air. It's like, I'm not going to play this video for the deleted scene because I don't need the copyright strike.
Right.
Thank Christ I didn't press play on that video because I was gonna, man. And I thought, nah, it's a microscopic channel, but still, it's going to be a bot that hits us, not manual review. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But and we were fortuitous in our own stupidity of not doing it. Disney issues copyright strikes against YouTubers criticizing Captain Marvel deleted scene, which richly deserves criticism because it shows Captain Marvel's a psychopath and that women and feminists are really just angry and want to see men hurt. That's not the full title, but it should have been.
Yes.
A sane psychopath.
Yeah, very good callback. Yeah, she's a sane psychopath.
I don't know, Scribe, we covered the Mary Sue articles like on last week's comic book curation. Did you guys do them on Lords of the Night where they were cheering on that deleted scene?
I believe we did, yeah. Or at least somebody who was defending it. Actually, that might have been Monkey's video. We talked about it for sure. I don't know if we covered a specific article about it, though.
I strongly am in favor of this. And people were like, why? And I'm like, don't you understand? The feminists, the intersectional feminists, reveal themselves when they say things like this. Like, I could totally live with 2 hours of just her beating up, quote, gross guys. Yeah,
right.
Because all you are is a chip on your shoulder, angry person. You're not ideological. You're just bitter as fuck. And so do it more. Tell us more about your violent fantasies, you fucking weirdo. Anyway, in response to the swaths of negative criticism being directed towards deleted Captain Marvel scene, Disney has begun to issue copyright strikes against YouTubers using footage of the clip in their commentary videos. On May 30th, Jeremy Griggs, owner and founder of geek culture website Geeks Plus Gamers and Geeks and Gamers, announced and provided evidence in a tweet that Disney has blocked his Captain Marvel deleted scene criticism video through the use of YouTube's copyright strike system. And there's the tweet right there and the evidence. LOL, Disney just blocked my reaction to the Captain Marvel assault trailer. Nice name for it. Where she proves she's as evil as a malicious, soulless killing machine from the future.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right out of T2, that scene.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so you want her to be as vicious and soulless as the unsmiling killing machine from the future? Okay, all right. Thank you for proving my point correct once again. Protect Queen Bree at all costs.
Oh, God.
She needs the help because the patriarchy is constantly trying to take her down. It's not like she's got a billion people white knighting for her. Dumbass.
Patriarchy.
Griggs wasn't the only one hit by the copyright strike, as another YouTuber reported their criticism videos have also been blocked by Disney, including somebody that nobody listens to anymore, aka somebody that no one listens to anymore. Moving on. EFAP number 26 featuring I am the blah, 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 blah has been claimed by the mouse for criticizing the villainous Captain Marvel. I am rendering out the censored. Yeah. I mean, that, I don't know. How would that work in terms of YouTube stuff? I haven't gotten a copyright strike yet. Grace of God, knock on wood. Can you just clip the parts that show that or blur it and you're good to go? Or
it all depends. I mean, how clear is the picture? If you change the audio at all, it depends on how sensitive the bot is. It also depends on if you've put anything in their tags or in your title that might indicate otherwise. They might just do it on that basis. I remember when I did a criticism of not the movie itself because I hadn't seen it, but the press around Get Out. Simply because I had Get Out in the title, my video got taken down by Sony or whoever the hell produced it. I didn't even use any footage of the movie. I just used screenshots of articles about some of the commentary on the movie, and it got taken down.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I challenged. It was the first video I ever challenged on that thing. I was like, this did not use any footage. This was just criticism. Nothing about this movie or this video has any copyrighted material in it. It eventually got put back up within about 3 hours, which was kind of surprising. But yeah, it's at one point they had a bot that was just taking down anything that even looked like it was critical of Get Out.
That's nuts.
Oh, man. Sorry about that, guys. I just tried swallowing a pill that got stuck in my throat. Now it feels like it's on fire.
Was it a jagged little pill? Do we have to call Alanis Morissette because of copyright issues?
It might as well have
it was one of his black pills.
It might as well have had barbs on it from the way that it felt. Oh, my God.
That's the price of reality, buddy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I love how nothing ironic is ironic.
I love this. This is, I'm going to, hold on. I'm going to clip that and save it. You're blocked with one of the few times that this horrid entitled fool ever smiled. You know, that brings something up that I like to bring this up as often as I can. We were talking about Chris Hemsworth earlier and the kind of sort of risk that they were taking by Marvel Studios was taking by putting him in Thor. And they were taking a risk, and it's evidenced by the $150,000 that he got paid for that film. $150,000.
Oh, he was an unknown effectively at that point.
Right. And, you know, you take, he wasn't as known as, say, Oscar winner Robert Downey Jr. Okay. You know, because he was a risky guy. He hadn't done well and, you know, his drug problems and stuff. So there were potential issues there. So he got paid what? $400,000 for the first Iron Man. All right. As opposed to Brie Larson, $5 million.
Well, we got an established Uber franchise at that point, and she had the ability to demand that because they knew they were just going to make $1 zillion. So it's a much different landscape now than it was back in 2009.
Really? You don't think she should have demanded to get the same pay as her male co-stars?
Would you?
I'm just saying she's a bloody fucking hypocrite that claims oppression when there really isn't any.
Could be, but as in commensurate to what those same guys are being paid now for Marvel. How much did Paul Rudd get for Ant-Man without, you know, first one-off, unproven character previous? That would be a more reasonable.
That's actually a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be a more reasonable sort of metric to look at because you've got a previously unproven character, D-list character, effectively. It's already set in a franchise that is established. You tell me what Paul Rudd was paid for his role in Ant-Man, and then that would be a bit more fair, in my opinion.
Do you think
not only that,
what's
it's
his
Paul Rudd too? I mean, Paul Rudd is he's more well known than Brie Larson was.
Yeah, but he wasn't like top headline material necessarily.
No,
so.
I'm just saying that he's more recognizable.
Well, she's got an Oscar too.
For what?
She did for the Room.
Movie called Room.
Yeah,
about a lady that was kidnapped and held in a room.
Yeah.
Never
But
heard
do you
of it.
think that what's his name got paid more than Rudd? Michael
Douglas.
Michael Douglas more than Rudd?
Yeah. If the idea of star power is
getting paid and how much of the residuals he might have been also in his contract or something else. I mean, there's different ways to get paid. Just straight salary, I don't know. Maybe they probably didn't pay him peanuts or nothing, but since he wasn't the star of the show, he probably got at least as much.
I don't know. Like it's something I've been meaning to look up and never had. I wonder how much. I wonder how much Robert Redford got paid. I mean, what a get that was for Marvel Studios to get Robert Redford in Winter Soldier. Holy fuck!
Yeah, it also depends on how many movies he signed up to be in, because it's like, Michael Douglas, you'll have to be in 3 movies, one of which for about like half an hour. And here's a big what you'll be paid each time around. It might be a bulk salary deal. Who knows?
Functional said 300,000 for Rudd for Ant-Man #1.
Really? Wow. Okay, I stand corrected. I thought for sure it would have been more than that at that point, because it's like this is a proven franchise. Could have demanded something a little bit more than that, but maybe not.
Ebony Williams says Ant-Man was poorly marketed. It was poorly marketed in the sense that it wasn't marketed to the extreme that other Marvel films are. So I agree with you, Ebony, but it I don't know. I kind of hear what you're saying, Scribe. I mean, they paid her a lot for the movie because she was able to negotiate for it. Surely you don't just offer somebody an amount and then they debate over it, because I mean, Robert Downey Jr. negotiated himself up to, holy Christ, like, Arab Sultan levels of money plus residuals on the back end, like you wouldn't believe. Like,
yeah, but he knew the movie business and he could justify it.
Yeah.
The other force that worked there too might have been, and I'm just guessing, that to pay her anything demonstrably less or too equal to her male counterparts might have been seen as sexist.
No, I'm saying I brought it up sarcastically. Yeah. Like it's like, of course she didn't ask to be paid the same commensurate amount, meaning first film, blah, blah, as her male co-stars. It's like, no, I deserve more. And it's like, well, of course you do. It's, you want to complain about the things that are to your advantage to complain. Blue-eyed, blonde-haired, rich white girl from Southern California who talks about oppression of POCs. I'm sorry, I'm never going to let it go. I can't. It's too frustrating for me. But I will tell you this. I mean, who was more bankable in their first appearance in the films than Scarlett Johansson? For Iron Man 2, they offered her $200,000 and she negotiated her way up to $500,000.
God forbid you actually negotiate.
Well, I mean, that comes into the whole.
Yeah, now she's going to get a Black Widow movie here, which honestly, that should have been the first female Marvel solo movie. I don't know. God, I hate the whole Captain Marvel thing was so established so shittily.
Yeah,
but it could have been fine. It could have been fine, but they just Brie Larson and the whole backstory to it and the final product is just such a cluster.
But to me, the Scarlett Johansson thing, okay, so Paul Rudd's amount, we know what that is. Scarlett Johansson kind of seals the argument because it was not as extremely established as it was right now, but Iron Man 2, considering how successful Iron Man 1 was a big deal. And they're going to bring on ScarJo for it. Now, there's a bankable actress. Of course, we were just talking about her with Ghost in the Shell as a bankable actress, right? They offered her $200,000. And then negotiate yourself up to 500 plus all the back end residuals, but $5 million.
But was she headliner material at that time? I mean, aside from Lost in Translation, which was a pretty artsy movie to begin with, was she a A-list star at that point?
I would say so. A-list, yeah. I mean, is she what she is now? Yeah. But I mean, Lost in Translation had happened years before Iron Man 2.
Well, I know, but I mean, if somebody said like Scarlett Johansson was the headliner of a movie at that point, I would probably have to stop and remember who that was.
Really?
In 2008 or whatever it was, 2009, something like that. I mean, yeah, besides which, she had at that point she probably had a contract for Avengers and everything else, so she probably signed a multi-movie deal for that one movie. She might have got 400,000 or something, but over the course of those movies, it probably went up.
Well, the overall point that I'm driving at is that when it comes to Captain Marvel, Disney and Marvel Studios clearly put a hell of a lot of chips on that move, a lot of eggs in that basket. Yes. They promoted the fuck out of it. Yeah. Unlike, like Ebony points out, Ant-Man did not receive that kind of promotion, and they went huge with it. They paid their actress big. So I'm not saying it's entirely about, oh, well, she's Brie Larson, we need to give her millions. The whole thing was huge. Well, they thought it was going to be the big thing, and I think that was their social justice effort, if the marketing is any kind of indication.
Well, the marketing also had something to do with the fact that they'd already said, I mean, they planned out these movies for years in advance, so they had to make Captain Marvel a big deal because Captain Marvel was going to be shepherding in the next phase of the Marvel universe. So if they didn't, whereas Ant-Man was kind of a side project, and the production problems behind that movie, I think Marvel at almost that point might have tried to start writing off Ant-Man as a possibility just because of what happened with Edgar Wright and all the delays and everything. So them not advertising it as much was a lack of investment, lack of confidence. But then Ant-Man did fairly well. So like, okay. So then Ant-Man and the Wasp got a better play on it. Yeah, Captain Marvel had to succeed if the structure, what they planned out for the next 17 movies was going to succeed.
And,
to be fair, Polly, it
did money-wise, I guess. But
yes.
Shit.
Unfortunately.
To be fair, Polly, it was her turn.
Yeah, it was. God. And check out this expert segue. One of the points that I'm making is, like, I hear all you guys' points. I'm not saying this wrong. I just, at some point, the executives made a decision that woke stuff and progressive material was bankable. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. They made a business decision in the same kind of way that Gillette and other companies are making a business decision to appeal to woke stuff because they think it's going to sell. Further evidenced by Gwyneth Paltrow, who appeared in Iron Man, launching her podcast called Goop Fellas about her line of quasi hippie health beauty products to help men fight toxic masculinity.
She does know that Goop Fellas sounds like gay porn, right?
Yeah. So let's read what Queen Gwyneth Hippie has in mind here.
I hate to interrupt, sorry, but I didn't know the show would go this long. I got to go to bed because I got to be up at 4 a.m.
So what do we want to do? Pitches right away and let you go?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll stick around for this last bit, sure.
Well, this is going to be the last article before.
Oh, okay, never mind then. Well, then I sorry.
You're fine, dude.
We know you wake up at the crack of dawn because we're still upstream with Monkey, and you're going, Jesus, you guys are still streaming. Avengers Endgame star Gwyneth Paltrow has found a new cultural crusade. She will take on toxic masculinity in her new podcast called Goop Fellas. This is a series of new products from her lifestyle brand Goop. See what I'm talking about here?
Mm-hmm.
It's not a podcast. It's a series of commercials in podcast form for her crap. Anyway, the brand has seen its fair share of controversy in the past when Harley Street nutritionalist Rhiannon Lambert condemned the brand's weight loss advice from celebrity trainer Tracy Anderson as, quote, extremely damaging, and then has the potential to harm a lot of relationships with food. The Goop Fellas podcast will focus on men, helping men achieve physical and or mental health transformation. Goop's current content officer, Elise whoever, spoke to Fast Company last week about the podcast, stating, "It feels like we're at the point in the culture where men are rejecting that sort of toxic masculinity. Yeah. We wanted to do something that was more about the emotional health of men, the importance of vulnerability, and the acknowledgement of how hard these things can be by selling them a bunch of crap."
Yes.
You fucking liars.
We have the answer, because if men are inherently flawed by toxic masculinity, then only women can be trusted to be level-headed and serious about things.
Right. Fast Company indicates that the podcast will highlight intervention stories.
Intervention?
Oh God, what does that sound like? Re-education camp.
In order to help men feel less alone and more comfortable with a process unfamiliar to them. I think men are really hungry for that. You are going to do interventions with men who are displaying quote unquote toxic masculinity, you fucking psychos, to sell your crap.
I think someone needs to fuck, it might even be me. I'll see about gathering up some stuff here. Someone needs to splice together the scene from A Clockwork Orange of Alex sitting in the chair with his eyes peeled back, and then nothing but like fluffy kitties and like ponies and stuff like that playing across the screen. He's, no!
And the end scene from Captain Marvel over and over again with that No Doubt song.
Yeah.
I'm just a girl in the world. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Fuck you, Gwyneth Paltrow, you awful shill. You fucking more. I've lost the power of words. This makes me so angry.
Well, they broke Polly.
She got inspired by the big girl power scene in Endgame.
Jesus Christ. Like it's like she's just running off of it. Like her dude, have you been to the website? Like a controversy? Like it's not just that. Like she sells mood crystals and aromatherapy crap and all sorts of like quasi new age garbage. And now you're fuck you people.
But she's saying what people want to hear, and that market will buy it as a matter of a political statement, not because they believe it, but because they want to perpetuate that notion. So it's like, you know, branding a movie a feminist statement. You'll put butts in the seats just on the principle of just showing your support than actually believing in the product.
I was talking about with some people last night on Discord about this idea that I don't want to see the backlash. Backlashes are always an overreaction to that which it was pushing, that which was pushing against it. Okay, do you want to see a backlash of hypermasculinity? I don't, but you're going to make it fucking happen.
Well, and it's free advertising.
Yeah,
and that's what it is. I mean, if you piss, I mean, they trolls are a bankable part of a business strategy now. Either whether you create them or you just let it do it for you without paying for it. If you show that there is a resistance to it, it's like, aha, see, they don't want you to know the truth, and here's the proof of what we're talking about. This isn't surprising me at all anymore. They're hoping they get some kind of, you know, MRA, MGTOW backlash to this, because that'll just prove their point and sell their product without them actually having to spend a dime on extra marketing.
Yeah. All right. Well, there it is in chat. Now is the time when we go over to pitching comic books. So, and of course, we have our guest Scribe, who's been looking forward to pitching something, and we've been looking forward to what he's going to pitch. So you can Scribe, your choice. It's guest choice. Do you want to go first, middle, last? Up to you.
I'd best go first.
Yeah.
So now, just remind me, I can't give away the spot. I can just say you have to go read this book.
You have to make it interesting enough for us, and by extension, the audience, to want to go read it. You're trying to entice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I've got one I can talk about, and one I can only sort of tease, because without giving away the twist, and the twist is the entire power of the book. So for any Punisher fans out there, the book you need to read, the comic book, just a single issue, that is, in my view, the quintessential Punisher story, both in the setting, the events, and the outcome, without giving anything away. It's Punisher number 45 from the original Unlimited series. The story's called One Way Fair. I can't give anything else away, but this is something that I had always wished would be turned into an episode of the Punisher TV show, because it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And it epitomizes everything that was right about that character. The artwork, I think it was Mike Barron did it, if I remember correctly. Anyway, can't give away too much. It's great. But the one I will talk about, the story I will pitch, I've already given away the character, but regardless.
Yeah.
So, busting in on a couple of black market, small-time gun dealers. And in the process of this, you find the guns, obviously, but you also find that the person selling the guns is dealing in kiddie porn.
Oof.
And I think I know this.
Taking kiddie porn and trying to figure out where it came from. You find out that both the guns and seemingly the porn itself came from a military academy for children.
Okay.
And so you go undercover as a potential parent of a student at this school to try to figure out what's going on. You meet the dean, who doesn't like the idea of women being in the military. Very topical. You meet the military hand-to-hand combat instructor who looks like Bruce Lee, acts like Bruce Lee. And then you decide to do a nighttime infiltration of this academy to try to take down whatever's going on there. But in the process, you get jumped by one of the students thinking that this is a military exercise test.
Okay.
And so then you have to contend with a whole bunch of military-trained teenagers who don't know any better. You who are there to scope things out, try to bust not only illegal arms sales, but also child porn taking place, all the while not hurting children, but getting justice for the perpetrators. And this was not a graphic novel. This was something right off of the stands you could have bought back in 1993.
So it was like a 23-page floppy, this whole story.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
This is back when you could actually tell some pretty dark material stuff, some adult themed stuff in the mainline comic books. These few issues of the Punisher, and I'm giving it away after it's the Punisher. Punisher number 42. Punisher 42, Punisher 44, Frank had to save a flag burner from a bunch of racist white supremacists, even though Frank was a military veteran and disagreed with this kid, but it was one of those things where it's like the principle's bigger than the argument kind of thing. I think these few issues, the 40s, the Punisher 40s dealt with some crazy, amazing topics that you would never see them touch today, or at least not in the way that they're touching upon them in here, while still being true to the character, but really going after some deep stuff. So yeah, Punisher 42, Punisher 44, and Punisher 45. 45 being, like I say, in my opinion, the most perfect Punisher story ever told.
Wow, that was a script by Mike Barron and art by Mark Texeira.
Oh, Mark Texeira did it? I love him.
So Mark Texeira, or Texeira, however you say his last name.
I don't know.
I first noticed him in those first few issues. I think Punisher 42 might have been one of his premiere attempts or a premiere contracts to do Punisher, because the issues around that are other people. He really came into his own in Punisher War Journal. God, I forget which ones. It's a 3-parter called the Sicilian Saga. That proved to me that Mark Texeira is the Punisher artist. Next to Mike Barron did a great job. Don't get me wrong, I love Mike Barron too. But really, for the grittiness, the roughness of the edges of his sort of charcoal paintings of these guys is perfect. That's right. No, I take it back. Texeira did an issue of the Jigsaw puzzle series prior to 45. One of the issues, oh, sorry.
I was just saying Jack's got some images up there while we're talking.
I got the cover up so for what you're talking about.
Sicilian Saga. He also did. It was really bad because the Jigsaw puzzle series, it's Mark Texeira's art, and the next issue was the last issue of the series was done by, I'm sorry, a shitty artist. It was so bad, and the difference between the styles and the quality was so lousy. But anyway. So I'm a big Punisher fan from the olden days. They don't do it the same anymore. The closest you get to that kind of quality is maybe the Punisher Max series.
Yeah.
But 90s Punisher, where they treated really serious topics, really dark stuff, but did it like I said, not talking down to the audience. It was such a rare thing. That was why I love the old Punisher comic books. I didn't feel like I was being pandered to. I didn't feel like I was being handheld through stuff. It was like, nope, very first panel, we're going to tell you this story's about child porn and the Punisher taking out child pornographers. I'm like, fuck.
I'm curious, being a big fan of the Punisher, do you agree with Salon.com's opinion that white folks who like the Punisher are joining a death cult?
No.
We covered that story 2 weeks ago, and it was the most insane thing. Like, wow.
I won't disagree that it is a little bit professionally inappropriate for police officers and such to have that symbol on their cars or their uniforms or anything like that. I'm not saying it should be illegal or something. I just don't think it's appropriate on a professional level. Other than that, though, no, the Punisher. the Punisher was about frustration in the 80s. The Punisher embodied frustration against, at the time, the rise in crime, the inability of the authorities to stop it. And it's still, I mean, he still represents that to a certain extent, you know, but he came to prominence in the 80s when the crack epidemic was at its height. And his origin story sort of reflects that notion. It's like, can there really be any real justice? He's catharsis. He is a lot of things, but he's not white supremacist. And in fact, one of the better storylines of the old Punisher comics was when Micro tried to get rid of Frank and replace him, and he found a new Punisher. And I won't give away all the stuff because I don't want to give it away. How not Microchip of the Max stories, a Microchip of the old stories. How he tried to get rid of Frank. He wasn't white. They had a lady Punisher for a while. There was a lot of experimentation at the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's got fucking all to do with white supremacy.
Hey, you remember when Punisher went undercover to fight the crack war as a black man?
We're going to ignore that.
Yes, I don't actually own that issue.
I do.
I missed that issue somehow. Yeah, I don't have that issue.
There was also the one where Lois Lane became a black woman and joined an allegory for the Black Panthers. So.
Okay, let's focus on the good story that Scribe is sharing with us right now. Okay.
The one thing I do have to say that is a little shocking. I mean, I know this is before the complete abandonment of it, but these issues, even though you were talking about them being, you know, mature for their for the time being and everything, still have the Comics Code Authority sticker.
Yep. On them. That is, like I said, that run of comics, the Punisher 40s, especially those three that I mentioned, and especially number 45. I cannot stress enough how amazing a story 45 is for if you're a Punisher fan. That's why it was so surprising to me. It was subject matter and themes and material that you wouldn't even seen on like network television after 8 o'clock in that era. Not really. So yeah, that's why. And I miss that. I miss mainline comics treating their audience with respect and treating the characters with respect by putting them in situations that are commensurate to the theme of their character. And the Punisher was not a superhero. He wasn't working in a fantastical world. He's working down and dirty. And those few issues there, man, can't get much dirtier and more poignant, and really showed like the world he moved in and the kind of horrible things that he had to deal with. And when you get away from spandex, I mean, you're still wearing the Punisher outfit, don't get me wrong, and that does take you out in a couple places. But other than that, yeah, perfect.
Okay. Look how fast I can do a pitch. Ready? And I've been reading a lot of Daredevil lately. So, Daredevil graphic novel, Love and War. Frank Miller again. Yeah, shut up. I love Frank Miller. No one writes better Daredevil than Frank Miller, and this is okay. Bill Sienkiewicz, we talked about it before. The guy's become a huge anti-comicsgate guy. Fuck you, Bill Sienkiewicz. There's no question he's a talented artist, though, and that's what makes it so tragic that he became an anti-comicsgate virtue signaler. But there's no denying back in the day knew what he was doing. This story is awesome. Frank Miller made a huge deal, of course, out of the fight between Daredevil and Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, made them arch enemies and turned that into a really fascinating story arc. And in this case, one of the things about the Kingpin that he has always had is his wife, Vanessa. She is the ultimate redemptive woman. That's the role that she plays. He loves her. He treasures her. He kind of keeps her away from all of the things. She sort of knows what he's doing, but then again, not really. Kind of keeps her all out of it. This story starts with her comatose, and nobody knows why. There's seeming nothing wrong with him. I love how Sienkiewicz, how huge he makes the Kingpin here, like with his tiny little head, just to exaggerate what a oversized guy he is. And Frank Miller's writing at its best. Vanessa, my wife, my love, speak to me, I beg you. Speak! As he yells. You have not spoken, not often. In the past months, the words have stumbled senseless from your life. She only, from your lips, she only speaks random words that seem to make no sense every now and then. Other than that, she's completely comatose. I don't want to spoil too much of the story. What ends up happening is Wilson Fisk, we need to get a psychologist in here because we've looked into all the medical possibilities. No one can find anything. It must be psychological. We'll get the man, top psychologist in the field of catatonic people, to come in and help Vanessa. And of course, this is his beloved wife. he knows no bounds. So in classic Kingpin thinking, he kidnaps this psychologist's wife to force him to help because, God damn it, either my wife is going to recover or you're not going to get yours back. Because that's how Wilson Fisk thinks. Daredevil ends up getting involved when he finds out about this kidnapping, and it turns out that Vanessa falling into this comatose was because she became partially aware of what the Kingpin was up to and some other nefarious things, and I don't want to spoil too much, but she was part of an experiment, sort of, and Sienkiewicz with his watercolor art just brings this story, but makes it dramatic, brings it to life. It's not anatomically correct, but it's so expressionist, I guess would be the best way to describe it. I highly recommend it. Love and War. It ends up being a battle between Daredevil trying to rescue this doctor's wife because he knows what the Kingpin's up to and he knows why Vanessa's really in the coma, and the Kingpin doing whatever he needs to do, and he views Daredevil as trying to stop him from rescuing his wife from this catatonic state. Great story, great art, highly recommend it. Again, Daredevil, Love and War. It's a complete graphic novel. Available used at your local comic book shops, or it can be bought new on Amazon or used editions up on eBay. So yeah, check it out. And there's my pitch. So who's up next, Jack? Quiz.
I'll go.
Okay.
Okay. I am pitching Detective Comics Annual 2. This actually just came out. And it features, I know I'm going to get some pushback on this, so a reoccurring, or a bad guy from an old storyline that I know Quiz didn't seem to care for, and that is, of course, the Reaper. You may remember that's where Batman got Joe Chill's gun.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, the Reaper reappears, and Batman has to find out what's going on. It's a globe-trotting adventure. He's in Crete and in Gotham City, and there's all sorts of shenanigans going on as he tries to uncover who did it. It's a surprisingly fun read, written by Peter J. Tomasi, art by Travis Moore and Max Rayner. I'm not familiar with their work. I'm not a huge fan of this art style, but the story was a lot of fun. And Alfred gets his ass kicked at one point.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You Pennyworth, you had it coming.
Yeah, but
Dude,
it was
Pennyworth breaks Batman's nose in Injustice. It's fucking awesome. Just saying.
But yeah, it was a fun book. I recommend it. I thought it was a good time. And it was for an annual, it was a good read, and it's better than anything Tom King's doing with Batman. And it's still better than anything put out by Marvel.
Nice. Title one more time, Jack.
That's Detective Comics Annual 2.
Annual 2. Okay.
2.
Cool. Quiz. You're up, buddy.
Mine is written by Matthew K. Manning, art by John Somariva. It's somewhat apropos because it's coming out fairly soon on DVD. This isn't the one that's going to be coming out. It's actually a different story, but Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures.
Nice.
What's kind of cool about this one is this is actually based around IDW's continuity. But unlike the other one, the one that's actually going to be made into an animated movie, this one is using, of course, the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle designs, but all of the Batman content is straight up from animated series Batman. And it is a beautifully drawn story. It's mixing these two styles very strange, but there's one major thing about the ones being made into the new movie is that it's very turtle centric. It's very turtle centric, meaning the villains are very turtle centric, whereas everything in this comic is very Batman oriented. You've got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fighting Clayface. You got Batman coming in on Two-Face. And the end here has the Joker and Harley facing off against the Foot Clan. So I personally like this story because it focused more on the Batman villains. But still, the animated movie's coming out, and I figured I'd pitch this one. This one's, in my opinion, the better version. Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Adventures.
Nice. Well, those are 4 solid pitches, especially mine.
Oh, modesty.
On that note, Scribe has to get up at the crack of dawn to
Yep.
go, work. So we are going to close it out rather quickly as usual. I think I can sum up Jack, Quiz, and myself's usual final thoughts. Support your local comic book shop. Buy used if you don't want to support the big two. If you're not reading comics, get out there and try. For Christ's sake, we got Monkey reading comics and buying comics again, and he was cursing me out the other night for having to spend the money. Mwahaha. There's lots to enjoy. Yeah, Scribe, any final thoughts?
Subscribe to my channel and watch Lords of the Night starting tomorrow night on Satsu 2 Senses channel, rotating nightly between Satsu's, mine, and Ranting Monkeys, 6 nights a week. There's my plug.
Nice. All right, so there it is. And if I may speak on behalf of the group, Scribe, we've wanted to have you on for a long time. We know you're a huge comic book fan. Thank you for coming on, especially on a one-off Sunday night instead of...
Thank you for having me.
Oh, not at all. We are happy to. Chat, thank you for coming. And if you haven't already on your way out, please like and subscribe. It definitely helps because we're a microscopic channel and we need the help. There it is.
Hell yeah.
All right, so hopefully we'll be able to have Scribe back again soon. What do you think? Yeah?
Oh, I think it can probably happen. Probably.
Cool. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.